Good Friday. Welcome to the cast. Just hang in there a bit while we get this show going. We still have some different channels coming on board. I'm your happy healer lover, and this is to get the cast off to a good start here. Welcome to the program. And there's a bit to go over today. And I also have a prepared video that I'm going to play. It's just some different ideas about the progress that I see in my own mind that I think will be helpful for my supporters, lovers, and helpers, people who see what's going on. Today I seen Jimmy Dore talk about opening up or wanting to open up a third party. I love it. I sent him a message that I think that's a great idea, that we should be doing that kind of stuff, and so I emphatically agree with it and endorse it, and so he completely knows my feelings on that. And so you got to share these things the way, that we're all seeing so much, and it's those things that we're basing our lives on, the views that we have. So that's why it's so important that we educate ourselves and that we understand the many complicated factors there really are in life. Think about it, all the many complicated factors. And I'm going to also today show some different stuff on the election that we just, or the debate that we just had, and that was yesterday. And so I'm excited about that. And also what you're going to be seeing from now on for these casts that I'm doing is I'll be scheduling them. You'll have a chance to actually see and join at times, unlike how in the past how I did things. It's all going to be set up in a different way. So we are live, just giving time for, my friends on different channels here to show up. And I'm hopeful you guys get some good questions that I'll be able to answer. And I have my phone with me, so if you want to go to Twitter and add me on Twitter at Happy Healer41, because that's a vision of a unity that we have to get to. And so always remember on Twitter, it's Happy Healer 41. We are always for that one unity, and it's in love. And to have a third party that's dedicated to a unified country isn't to say we can't have three parties, or that one party becomes, or three parties become one party. Idealistically, we just get on the right page and let love carry the message. Let love make things clear. And that's also what you'll see in the video, which is just really awesome. Coming to terms in this election. And so you could see there, that was it. And we'll be getting into that in a little bit. I'll probably do that a little bit more towards the end. Or I'm not really for sure where. Maybe we'll put it in another few minutes here. But I want to give a chance for people that are want to maybe communicate more and have an opportunity to go over some of the many articles. We have hundreds of articles that talk about happy healer virtues and living, keeping you safe in this very complicated life. And so I want to give people a chance to reach out to that, because that's really where the happy healer values and virtues come into play. And I'm just so excited that we are even given the ability to think for ourselves. If you study around the country and you see different people, and I'll be sharing this in the coming weeks, their struggles and what they're not capable of doing, why it's upon America for this unique opportunity to seize, and that it might be our destiny that we're missing, that the destiny of hell where we're headed wasn't supposed to be that way. It was supposed to be a different plan. And so to get ourselves back onto that plan, I think is our number one priority. And if we don't do it, then of course we're going to suffer some serious consequences. Things that people don't think about, they take it for granted. In this life, there's so much taken for granted. And that's the sad part. So, yeah, so I was watching the debate last night. I, again, just felt disappointed in what the prospects were on the various questions on what we can do, on the kinds of progress we can make for, solving problems. They're supposed to be problem solvers. They run the country with the idea or with some kind of notion that it's the agenda that matters most, that they're pushing, that their agenda, whatever it may be, for their friends. They have so many different behind the scenes obligations. And, well, you heard, for example, Vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris during the debate. She talked about you got to know who your friends are, and you have to take care of your friends, she said with a smile, and that you have to also know who your enemies are and to keep them at bay, she said. And that's a world that's always going to be flushing itself down the toilet. It's just a pressurized chamber that never gets to do good. Everything in it is just constantly under pressure. It's changing the dynamics of how life should be. And here we have somebody running for vice president of the United States talking like as if it's normal. We have our friends over here. We have our enemies over there. We got to keep them at bay. Like, I mean, it's such a warfare-minded way of seeing things, and it's completely wrong. You're never going to find the answers that are for all of us in that area because it's constant friction. It's never coming to terms and understanding people and helping them understand you. Remember, your responsibility in this life, it's not just so that other people can hear you and that you don't have to listen to them. It's supposed to be a two-way prospect. So this way you can put out information that you've learned, that you feel strongly about, but also that you hear new information that might alter your thinking. And that's why people are so afraid of taking on new information. They don't want to alter their thinking. The way it's been going for them is going for them because they made their friends, they put themselves into that tiny little box. It's pressurized. Remember, the dynamics in that pressurized cylinder is different from everything else around it. The truth itself doesn't matter so much. Folks without a bat of an eye can turn around and stop talking to relatives they've loved for years because of this pressurized chamber. It's not natural. It doesn't belong there. And so in the future, now, and of course since in our campaign, we have already resigned to the fact that we're going towards 2024. So that allows us the flexibility now to just talk about what matters without breaking this notion that somehow if we can just unveil the truth of our moment right now, the snapshot of October 23rd, 2020, boom, in all of history, from the past and of our inception to the creation of the universe, all the way up until this moment, and the theoretical belief of what comes next. All of just one snapshot, understanding what's happening now. That's having some crystal clear clarity that allows you to make great decisions for humanity. Every single person needs to be concerned with these truths, especially in a democracy. Otherwise, a democracy won't work. If we go through our lives pretending that these energies, this is where we live, this is where I live the most, in the energies, and we just pretend that those energies don't exist, but they're constantly having an effect on our lives. They're choosing our leaders. They're choosing how we deal with various matters and in culture and with our children. And oftentimes we get it wrong because, again, this pressure chamber that these folks are in, and you know what I'm talking about, and how they get locked into a certain thinking and nothing else can get in there, and that the whole system is on a different keel, it's at a different pressure zone, and that everything on the outside of it, no matter how much it makes sense, it won't make sense in there. That is how these folks are going. And if you look at the entire world as it is, it's also a pressure chamber on the human spirit. It's locking out the human spirit, science constantly. So many different scientists, and I love them. I learn from them, and that they're so triggered about theology, about religion in general. And I understand religion has made a lot of mistakes, but faith is so important, and they're very judgmental about God being in existence in this reality and in this universe, that perhaps they don't even believe that there's a God outside of the universe that created it. They just think everything is a happenstance, and that it's like a it's because there's so many people of faith, they feel like they have to, in order to be unbiased scientists, have a predisposed notion that God doesn't exist. So let's say they find God. They're never going to see it as God, because God doesn't exist in their world. And that's why I took it upon myself to study a lot of what they know, to see a lot of the different various aspects from different angles, and see, like, for example, in the future, when you're looking at this big, and I call it like a loaf of bread, you can kind of tell from the trajectory, from the history, and from what matters. And it's just like if you're standing outside in this world, in the world of greed hell, it's what it is anyway. But let's just say it's our world, and we love it in so many ways, and we love each other. And let's just say we're standing on the outside in this world. We know very well when we're looking into that echo chamber. We know what it is when they're into that pressure zone and they're not coming out of it, and they won't let anything else into it. We know what we're looking at. Don't you know that when you step back out, each time you step out, you know what you're looking back into, and you know what's most important in that situation. And it's the same thing with the universe. And scientists, they often say, well, by the idea of deduction and looking and reducing things to their various elements, we discover what things are. And it's oftentimes the scientists will say, you don't have to guess what something is. It shows itself to be what it is. And in other words, like, there's a lot of people in some sort of, and I talk about it all the time, but like denial. And also, of course, I talk about how they have no courage and they don't like change. And so now here's a scientist, and they love their own views they've come up to. They're so dedicated to them. They don't take the time to understand really in a full detail, or even relate to what faith feels like, to put it as part of the equation. Yet faith is having a big impact on life. Look at all the faith-based groups and organizations and beliefs that oftentimes send the direction for where we're headed to in culture and what's acceptable in humanity. Yet it's these folks, they are often misaligned with each other. They're seeing different truths. They're misaligned with their own energies. They're not looking at the energies like how your happy healer does, how I'm sure you do. And that's why I talk about it. Welcome if you're just getting in. It is Friday, I know, at 4 p.m. I hope you guys have a great weekend. This is, I don't know if it's the best time to cast or not really, but I've been changing and trying different things in the past. And the main thing that we're going to be doing now is just putting up dates and times and events in the future, so that you know when it'll be there and that you can also participate. So, getting back into it though, yeah, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of people that and I say the scientists, it's not just them, but they have a problem with the idea that there's a higher power because they don't want people to be lazy, like God's going to fix it all. They feel that it's very important. Well, we got to be straight to the truth and do things ourselves, or it'll never get done. You can't pray for something to get done. You've got to go do it. And but instead of saying that and also saying it's okay to have faith while you pursue the correct avenues, and to realize that God expects us to do for ourselves, to not be lazy in that way. Instead, they're more comfortable saying God doesn't exist. And, to me, that's absurd. We're here. The proof is so astounding. It's just like looking back in on the echo chamber and seeing what those folks are and how misleading their lives must feel to themselves, and why the awkward relationship exists between them and other people, and how it affects them in culture. And it gives them a view that everyone hates them. It's not healthy. And so that's how we're finding our society. And so these energies make all this stuff very clear. And when I look back, looking onto the universe, and I'm asking myself, looking into that echo chamber, what is its purpose? Why is it here? What I notice, and it's just a fundamental fact, and it's amazing to consider. What I notice is that there's these sentinel beings here. And while, yes, there's infinite stars and mass, and it goes on for billions of light years, in the infinitesimally small the Milky Way galaxy comes Earth. And on Earth, there are these sentinel human beings, and they think they're made up of matter and energy, just like all the other energy around. Wow. Maybe all of this energy, with free agents roaming everywhere, is meant to build life. Wow, I'm looking at a life builder. That's what I see, is a life builder. And it uses different avenues to be a life builder, and it's pulling from immense resources so that life can be there. Otherwise, a lot of all this action you're seeing is so massively pointless. But yet, now that we know it's a pressure cooker for life, now it makes a lot more sense. And I almost feel my own spiritual essence looking into that, saying, wow, I want to dive into that. I want to learn about my life within this pressure chamber, this beautiful idea that we have control over our destiny, that we can have great lives because we understand what the purpose of life is, and that we have faith that this was not by accident, that something so beautiful that was designed to make life, to produce life, is just amazing, and that we can literally feel ourselves in this life moving. And I have so many different ways of explaining this, and I don't want to get caught up. This will end up going on for hours, and the truth is we won't discuss the topic of the video if we do that, which is about the election, and it's about my endorsement of Trump and why, and it's because of the energies. I live in the energies. I can't ignore them, and none of us should. These energies are so important. They dictate our lives, and these energies are so much easier to determine the next move, the right move. You know, when it's a foregone conclusion that love is your choice, it's the way you're headed, it takes a lot of silly decisions out, like when people make the wrong move, the wrong decision. As if it was even a decision to say, if you're a moral human being, that is, to say, well, I have a choice. I could do the right thing or I could do the wrong thing, and that you're going to go and do the wrong thing. And let's say that wrong thing is taken from humanity in some way, fashion, form, and it's not right. And you do it, and you do it over and over again. That's actually selling your soul, because that's the choice you weren't supposed to make. You were choosing from the forbidden fruit, the fruit that gives to you now but takes from everybody else at the same time and takes from all of our future. It makes things less possible. So that's why I always say you have to be patient in life, because you can't rush the pot. You have to have faith, and you have to be a part of the lovers, the givers, the hopers, dreamers, wishers, and you have to have courage and belief. That's what builds your faith. And all of this is just based on our creation. We're not talking even so much about anything that is fake. Everything that we're talking, or just an idea, or some sort of, complicated, notion of the universe. This rather is instead a very easy to understand analysis that we live in an energy pot, and that there's no way all this energy comes from nowhere. In fact, our own physics tells us that. And it seems to me we're tethered to something outside of this. And we see it in science. We see wormholes, we see black holes. Black holes will never make sense to us because of the way they respond in normal matter. And so these are the kinds of things that when you're looking from the outside back in, you realize, oh, that's an umbilical cord to our universe. It's giving us something. And you get to realize there's more than just even our universe. And this is the domain of God. God, you can't tell what God is. God has you in a box. You don't have God in a box. And so the very notion that you can tell God what to be or do is just, again, it goes back to the world of greed hell. Only somebody so ridden with greed would even try to explain what God is. God can tell you what he is, but you'll never be able to tell God what God is. God is God. And all you can do is look at his work and feel his energies. You can step back and look at that pressure chamber of love being the strongest energy, and having all of these various objectives and challenges. And then you start to see the purpose of life too, being we have to get to a place of love. Indeed, it might be our journey. It's the reason why we're here. Perhaps our souls and spirits are so reckless on the other side of this, where the umbilical cord is coming into our universe through the black holes, if you want to look at it like that. You can't be out there right now. You've got thrown in here to have the experience, to find love. You're doing too much greed with all of that power you had. And so this is the place of love. It could totally be that this is also important to save the life on the outside, that we sometimes refer to it as heaven, outside of this universe. And we have things we do and the energies. That's what makes us so important. It's not just because we're this meat or material matter. In fact, that's so insignificant in terms of the overall matter of the universe. But when you realize the universe is a life pressure chamber, cooking and creating life, and that's what its purpose is, looking out back into it, and you realize, wow, these objectives, are they going to make it? It looks like almost like it's a test. Like, are we going to make it? Are we going to make it? How many times have we been at this? How many times have we failed? And we do greed over and over again. How many souls have been lost? How much salvation needs to be had? And so this is clarity. It's seeing the energies. It's happy healer virtues. And so one thing I'll tell you about running for president for me. It was difficult to make the change. I wish there was, I think 4 p.m. is a bad time. I wish there was more people that were participating. But, and let me, I don't know if I have yeah, here it is. Okay. Oh, I'm logged in the wrong account here. So let me go ahead and, what is this? Temporary limit some of your account features. Oh, okay. Alright. It wants me to make sure I'm not a robot. I don't know if you ever had that happen before on your Twitter, but that's what it's doing. And, interesting. So we'll get the traffic lights here. No, there are no traffic lights on this one. Okay, so I'm not a robot. So we'll see. My Twitter is a very dead place. If you want to add me on there and share my Twitter, that'd be helpful for growing this movement of lovers. You see, I'm in Happy Forest Mini right now. Very capable place to be, and it's also economically smart the way I set this up. It's got everything you could possibly need. In the back here, I have a refrigerator, a big one too, a nice refrigerator. In fact, I'm going to get some ice cream here in a little bit. I need to lay off of that stuff. Next thing is going to be body mantics, get things together. But I also have the microwave here. I have my drone over there. I have everything I need in such a small package. It's so convenient. And don't get me wrong. I mean, Happy Forest 1 is going to be a great, great machine to get this job done for our mission of building the movement of love moving forward. But by golly, I'll tell you what. Let's see who this is. Hello, it's Keith.
Hi, this is Betty from Parker Wheaton Law Firm returning your call regarding your Purdue case.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. What's going on with that?
So you want an update on your case?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'd like an update on it.
Okay. So as of right now, we've gone ahead and submitted your claim, which is currently processing within the court system. We have not heard anything from the courts as of yet since July. We anticipate to hear something in the beginning of next year. But I know there has been like the recent reports of a possible, like the users calling it a settlement.
Right.
That's necessarily not true. Basically what's going on with the dude, they're going to be hit with criminal charges. So with criminal charges and fines. So the amount that they're, I guess, insinuating about does not qualify, or does not even qualify, but has no forbearance on your case. So that's two separate issues, and it does not affect the settlement of your case. Your case has not been settled.
Okay. And so the way I look at it is, so they made a settlement of $8 billion with the states that were involved in the government, right? And
I don't want to say it's a settlement, but they're being charged fines.
right, right. Yeah, to make up for the horrible human casualty that has occurred because of the opiate crisis and the effect it has had on their states, without putting any emphasis on the effect it has had on the victims. And so I understand that Purdue is wrong and that they should pay a price for that. What I don't understand is why that Purdue is only paying for the inconvenience the state had to go through by dealing with victims. What about the victims themselves who have lost so much, right?
No, I understand.
I mean, it's really backwards. They make this deal that they're only concerned about that one aspect, and I don't like that because, that really had a huge impact on so many lives, mine very much. And, I don't understand why. So does this, because they're in a bankruptcy, doesn't it mean it would, something would have to move along, in other words, quicker than as if they were not in a bankruptcy?
No, it actually would still be the same time frame.
Right.
And especially with a large company, like a large corporation like this, they're going to try every means to try to, prolong it. So,
and when you
When
you process a claim like you have said to me to start with, and that then there's no update, yet on that, what does that mean? Like, what process? Can you walk me through that process?
Sure, no problem. So your case, so these litigations, like this litigation, nothing has been filed. There has been no set settlement whatsoever. So that means that we're in the very early beginning stages of this litigation, where the courts are only requesting for all the participating law firms to submit just a soft profile on the plaintiffs or the clients that they have that are participating for this claim. So they wanted to see how many individuals are going to be that are considering to go against Purdue. So that's why it's considered a claim registration.
Right.
So we've gone ahead and the deadline for that, for any person to be involved with that, was July 30th.
Right.
And that's what I meant, that we submitted your claim and it's currently processing and we haven't heard from the court. So we're supposed to be receiving like a claimant number to identify you as an individual within this litigation.
Okay.
Now, the attorneys do not know how the courts are going to proceed with if it's going to be a class action or if it's going to be a individual case by case.
Right.
So that's why we say it's in the very early stages, because we have not heard back from the court.
And we're edging for a class action. That's a simpler process, and it's a bigger, it's where we're doing it right now.
It's however the court deemed is appropriate to handle.
Oh, okay, all the victims.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's very sad what happened, and so there's going to be. I like that you guys did that, and if you need anything else from me, you already know. I think my file over there is, quite intensive, and I don't know how much is in it because I think I signed over the rights for any medical records or anything. Like I always say though, whenever I speak to you guys, if you need anything from me, I told you the story, and I mean it's intricate and it's detailed and there's a lot there. And if there's anything that you want from me, I'm here to help.
No problem, Keith. Just keep us updated with your contact information.
Okay, thank you very much, and God bless you.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend.
Okay, bye-bye. Purdue has been unconscionable in terms of what's going on in this country. It's sad. I'm open on that. If you go to the site, you'll see a lot of what I had to go through in order. That's why I say when you've been to deep places and you know what we're all up against, it's obvious what we need to do. It's obvious the direction we need to go. And it's so much better than what we currently have. And what these doctors who are charged with saving lives, what they did is they misused their trust and they put money ahead of care. It's not shocking too much, really, if you think about it. And it's exactly what you get in greed hell. And they started prescribing oxycodone, OxyContin, very powerful narcotic pain medications. And to people that were complaining for simple problems, a sprained ankle, would be getting hooked on narcotics that now are going to chase them for the rest of their lives. When you get hooked, if you just take these narcotics for a short period, 1 day, 2 days, they don't affect you. But if you take it and they affect you a little bit, but not as much, especially if it's your first time, they're always a danger. If you take it, just for a week, now you have got a problem that's going to chase you for your life. That is how bad it is. And the deeper you get into it, the deeper it gets. I openly talk about in my own struggle, what I was up against. And that's the American people's plight also. And a lot of that's going to be going into the book. Like I said, I'll be working on a book that is going to be written in the next, over this course in the next 6 months. And I can't wait for that to come out, and you guys will be able to really get a lot more insight into how I have formulated my thinking around so many experiences so deep: the universe, life, death, happiness, success, money, vision, direction in life, and always stopping to meditate. What is the best way? Did we go the right way? Could we have gone better if we had only gone this way or that way? And to adjust and to be so humble in that process, doing it over and over again. And then you run into people who, when you speak to them, you have your opinion, they have their opinion, and they discount your opinion so fast. But they didn't come to the same conclusions the way you came to your conclusions. Perhaps it's why they have such radically different conclusions. And seeing that, I know they have so much suffering left to do. That's what we share when we share our experiences. We share the way forward. We share the confidence in that spirit, that shared, connected, collective experience that we all garner just by being alive, our collective spirit. We share in that every time we share our experiences that made us brighter, that we have a safer way to live through this world. People all the time can't deal with what I find to be such simple situations to deal with. They end up getting killed over it. And life doesn't need to be like that. It doesn't need to play out like that. I mean, don't you agree that we should all be working on a better existence for all of us? Don't you agree that we should work so hard to get along based on actual truth? Don't you agree that if you had become so passionate about a truth you stumbled upon and found based on being humble and open and being loving, and that you're so certain it's true because you've had to throw away old truth that was not true, that was in correct competition with it. And this truth you hold so dear, you share with other people, and they discount it, and they're not willing to have an open mind enough to not just take it for blank truth, but to put it against the test. And the sad part is people have found themselves so accustomed to doing this that they're losing their ability to test anything at all. They're losing their skills, a skill set that is so important. This is, again, straight to the core of our human experience. You have to realize this. And that's why I say when you're living in the energies, it provides answers for you in complicated situations. It means you emerge as a winner because you emerge safe, alive, still driven and on task, clarity, smart, understanding, healthy, realizing you have to make decisions that keep you going, that keeps the dream going. And that's fair. Justice is such an important thing. When you see Greed Hell talk about justice, it's a laughing stock. Greed Hell will never get justice right. That's why you have to be humble and say, wait a second, in the name of peace and justice, I have to stop for a moment and meditate on my decision, meditate on my thinking. Am I doing right? Or should I adjust something a little bit? And if I do, will it make my life better? Will it make the lives of other human beings better? At the core of it, am I just in it all for me, or do I care for others? Let me get to the core of my being. And if the answer is I do care for others, I wouldn't want to live in a world vast all by myself, then let me be realistic about that truth. And let me come back out to the surface and show others how true that is in any possible way I can. Let me reject the idea that we are individual, not connected, that we're somehow independent, that we don't need anyone else. Let us break down that lie and let us realize that together we all raise in the ocean and the tide together. So that's my belief. That's, again, Happy Healer Virtues that brings that truth out. When you start looking at the science of things and you're looking at the politics of things and you're looking at the inner workings of things, what you start to develop is an animal of things, like an animal of understanding. And yeah, it's a moving animal. Things change. And this is a vast animal. And that if most people in their truth can't have something that is in like a functioning theory on their own belief system that can either deny, reject, or accept different notions and ideas they come to because they have this understanding in their mind. That's, again, flexible. That's open to truth, and that's open to love. Always compassion. It keeps us safe. It keeps us doing the right decisions. I say, if you're not sure if it's right or not, just try love on for a day, a week. Do everything with humble love, humility. Don't approach things with this need to overcome people that love you. Assume they love you back and love them. See how that works for you. See if that improves your life. See if other people like you better. See if that makes you more magnetic. See if it makes you more safe. See if it makes you more courageous, because now you're doing things for them based on love. And you're saying, brother, sister, hear me out. This is not about what they're doing, all this politics. I'm on a whole nother plane. Please join me here. This is about love. And let's look at the truth together. And let's come to a conclusion that makes sense. I don't have to have a foregone conclusion. A part of my animal is that the foregone conclusion is a flexible love that takes care of problems when it sees it. It reduces things to the elementary particles of every problem to make things simplistic, to make things comprehensible, and to make things efficient. But it doesn't make things more simple than they actually are. That's the greatest sin of all. That's what greed consistently does. Greed likes to count everything up, and then it has its records and it has its accounting of why everything went wrong, because ultimately they will fulfill nothing. They have their keys. They know who they need to please, so that they could use the key to open the next door of power that they seek. That's where their minds are. It's not in this world of love. That's why I say, they look at me and they say, what are your positions? How are you running? What would you say about this candidate? Well, I would say I love this candidate. I would say I'm running because nobody else is doing love the right way. That I am your happy healer lover, and that I am fired up, and I am so courageous in the truth, and that I love you. And because of that love, we can discuss huge consequential problems and make massive progress. If we could bring our country together and we can have a unified love, we get to do that millionfold. And that's the beauty of the energies when you see them clearly. And that's what I would say. They're not working in the world of love. They're working in the world of greed hell. Let's see if my, look at this thing. It's not going anywhere. So bear with me. I just can't understand why. Let's see if I can change. Okay, let's see if I can, this thing, I'm going to go ahead and close it out and open it back up. See if that helps. No, it's taking me right back there again. Let's see, palm trees. I'm going to try this again because I want to see if you guys are out there and asking me questions on. I want you to add me, Happy Healer 41. I'm not even on that account. I'm on a different account, but I'm jumping there now. Happy Healer 41. See, I have Happy Healer Love too, but that's my other normal account. That's not for my politics and stuff. So here it is, Happy Healer 41. It doesn't have a lot of followers, so start following me there, please. I have 8 followers. I keep all that stuff public and open. I'm never worried about. See, I realize how we're all monkey see, monkey do. We just follow along. It doesn't even have to be smart, original, or anything. There's so many YouTubers out there that are successful. They don't have to think about anything. They're not creating anything. They're not actually creators. They are just plagiarizers. They just copy a video and then they do it. Yay, it's my face on his video. Da 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 da. They make the video. They get known for it. They get the love for it. That's what greed is always out for, fake love. It wants to give. Everyone's seeking this love. They don't want to give anything. Nothing's about giving in the world of greed hell. It's all about taking. It's about trickery. Oh yeah, I'm a smart guy. Look what I came up with. I came up with this, and they start giving it out. Before you know it, the next guy had the same thing. They're not creating anything new. So that's what greed in its essence does. Not everybody does that, but there's people who do that. And it's an important thing to know that not everybody is doing the truth. But yet, we're not doing progress. That's not progress. That's just regress. And it's actually a shame because you're taking the credits from another individual who worked hard for that. And so, use it, but at least understand we're talking about the creation of another. And this is the thing. People think they can get away with that. Oh, by the way, Biden is huge on this. He is a plagiarizer, a cheater. He's not the smartest guy, but he wanted to be big in life. He wanted to have huge opportunities. And so early on, he believed in the world of greed. Hell, it's what you do. You just take a stance and you go with it. Because when you don't believe in God, you can literally kill anybody if you get away with it. There's no consequence. You're just, as it is now, you're inconsequential because, you're just a mistake of nature. You're like a cancerous production of nature. They don't look back out and see what I see. I see a beautiful humanity that this pressure cooker for life, the universe, they don't see that. Not in a world of greed, hell. No survey. They see this chance erosion of this inconsequential, rather disgusting and horrible, barbaric, and people that are taking over a planet and destroying it. They don't look at it for that. Wait a second. This is all for us. This is for us to succeed or fail. And right now we're failing. And those people that look at it like that and that they practice their lives in such ways, they are helping us fail. They're bringing it on. And so I encourage them with love change. Look at the way it really is. Look at life for what it really is. Do you really see yourself as being so inconsequential? Look at the magical aspects of life. Realize who you really are. You're the spirit within A, B. All of the things around you, including all the material things, including me, right this moment. We are all just matter and energy that is reflective of our greater spirit and our character that makes that spirit. And this energy, it's so elementary in the sense that when you get to the smallest aspects, and you break it down to see what its smallest particles are at the very fundamental stage of its existence, you realize it's atoms, and that those atoms, they have electrons, and that these electrons are not even a strict particle, but they're like a cloud, almost like a potential, not even certain where it is. And that's how life becomes when you get to the sub-atom world, subatomic world. And it's fascinating. In the center of that, you have a nucleus, and you have more particles, and it just goes a bit on. And all of these particles from after the point of the subatomic event horizon, if you would, are now particles that come in existence and come out of existence. They operate on a different level, and that it's just, if you look at it, it's just pure energy. And I mean, it's so obvious it's pure energy. The electrons that you find even in our bodies, it's the same electrons, energy. It's the same current that runs through your wires in your house. I mean, this is the nature of creation. It's energy, and it's known. We're not even questioning this. It's already resolved science. I just can't imagine such a magical existence, and that anyone would lose how important their existence is in this world, knowing that there's so much more we can do. I mean, look at the nature of our existence. Look at the world we live in. It's an energy world, and quite frankly, it's a digital world. It's not just that we have electric as a means, like we have many other means, like we have wind, fire, and all these other means. Electric is everything else. It's that current, it's that energy, it's the wind, it's the snow, it's temperature. Temperature is energy, and it all comes together. And when at different levels of life, the fundamental level, these pressure cookers, energy, matter, and temperatures, all playing a role on the subatomic level, and continues to play a role in building this world we have around us. Around us, we see entropy. But when you get to the subatomic level, you see magic. And you see the building up. And you see, like, look at us. We're built up from the subatomic world built us. We're not built in the world we see today. It's not obvious how we're even here in the world today. It's the subatomic world. And in that, you see the biology, you see everything taking place. And these are the virtues of happy healing, because you understand. You get to the nucleus of matter, you get to the nucleus of knowledge, and you get to the nucleus of purpose, you get to the nucleus of love. All of that is clarity and understanding. So then I step back and I look at that person who disagreed with me ideologically on something that we should be agreeing on, and I say, bring me to where you are. I'm open-minded. Show me that everything I've discovered, all of the meditation that I've done, just show me the truth and I'll follow you. But if not, follow me, because I've got a truth that doesn't break down against scrutiny, that doesn't break down when you put the scientific method against it. So, love. It's just a powerful force. And people mock it. I say we have mocking devils, that they don't realize that their inability to believe actually hurts their own salvation possibilities, and that's the worst thing that can happen. Mobile Matt, how are you? You have any questions for me? I would love to answer them for you, because that's what we're here to do. So anybody who's watching that wants to ask any questions, and I mean anything in life, that I'm your happy healer lover. I want to be able to provide information and help you. And I have no problem. You can go to my channel and see, or my Facebook, for example. I have no problem reaching out into the world, the human humdrum, and saying, "Hi, your happy healer loves you. I need something, or I wonder something, or I want to know something." And so I'm always here to offer everything that's part of myself as well. So, all right, Mobile Matt and Pablo, what's going on, my brother? Amigo, what's up for snacks, huh? Let's say I got my soda here, my Diet Coke. I got my peanuts. I love, 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 love peanuts. And if you know, I'm just your happy healer lover nut. And if you ever see, I always use the nuts. I love peanuts. They're great for you, and they're good for your heart and different things. All right, I love the golden fish. These fishies are amazing. Oh, yummy, yummy, yummy for my tummy, tummy, tummy. And I enjoy them. You like the cheddar ones? And I like it when they have a lot of salt on them too. Those are the bestest. And what else? What do you guys like? Tell me what you like. Like in the comments. What's your favorite foods? Do you have any? And what? Ask me a question about the election. I mean, I know that's a big deal right now. So Mobile Matt says MAGA, make America great again. And yeah, Matt, 4 more years for Donald Trump. Yeah, it's not something that I'm excited about. And I don't hate the man. I never hated anyone. I don't hate Biden. I'm a lover. I'm committed to that. I love all. And I don't have to, all we're looking for is what's better in the energies. And I think a lot of people on the left would agree that we need major progression. In fact, that's what their major stance is. They want to do the new Green Deal. You know, what your happy healer lover wants to do is take the conservative right with us for the ride, and not just do the Green Deal, but times that by like 1,000 Green Deals. How do you like that? And, you know, bringing these ideologies together. Oh, and you don't think the right would go for that ride? They realize that this is not working as well. And they'll meet you when you're sane, and you come with love, and you come with the truth, and that they can have a part in that truth, and that the truth can be realized, and that all of us can be better for it. Ultimately, the conservative, at the heart of his ideology, he wants the best deal possible for the effort put out. And that's what we're talking about here. The best deal possible for lives. That's what we're talking about here. The best deal possible for people to have happy relationships and partners and in existence. That's what we're talking about here, progress. And so, whether we're running for power or not is inconsequential. We're still learning, and that's what we'd be doing anyway. And so, also, if you have any solar questions about that, you see, I'm completely powered up always by solar 24/7. Very comfortable with it, and I think it's a powerful medium for giving you just the ability to go out, have your comfort, have your office, have your life, have your, I've got a stove here, an oven, a microwave, a refrigerator. I've got my clothes, all abilities. I've got even a little shower set up. It's really not that bad. And all in all, I think that when you learn these kinds of skills, it empowers you. It doesn't make you weaker. It makes you stronger. It makes you stronger for knowing and for understanding the difference. So, yeah, I am supporting Donald Trump, Matt, from this point. I think that the energies have dictated that. That's not me. That's the energies. We can't have people not pushing for change. That's the main thing. Change is so important. We can't have people getting comfortable. And you see others are talking about this too. The energies are clear to see. They see them. When you're honest with yourself about the energies, you know what they are. And there's a lot of people that are talking about, oh gosh, just let's get Biden in so we can all relax. You tell me, who's got the the wherewithal to relax knowing what we're up against? Is that really what we should be doing? Relaxing in this very moment? I don't think so. I think we got a lot of work to be doing. And so, and it's not just about the next 4 years, it's about the continuity of life itself. You got to look at the big picture. You got to go a little bit further out than your greed tells you that. Only right now and only you matters. That's how we're going to be able to have better lives. And I don't mean better lives for our great great grandchildren either. These are kinds of changes that make better lives for all of us. And it does it relatively fast in a way that, because unity is a very powerful force, that we get so much more accomplished. These roadblocks, they begin to fall and a unified force takes over. In the world of freedom, that if you even want to pretend you have freedom, it's hard to get people on the same page. In a dictatorship, they just bark orders. China's got somewhat of a unity because of that. And look at the progress they've had as a result of their greed-ridden unity. We want to love God-ridden unity. And we want freedom, God, and love to drive our unity and our freedom. And that's how we get to very powerful and effective places. So let us all be humble in new knowledge, in hearing people out, hearing me out. I'm always going to come to you clear. I don't have an agenda other than that I love you and I see things clearly, and that it's more obvious to me than I look at agendas as being people pursuing their greed. We are pursuing greater purpose. We are pursuing greater value. A life worth living for everyone. Oh, yes, that's what we need, because that's what we lack. And looking in on it from the outside, given all of our great technological achievements and ability, our smart people, there's no reason why we can look back at our maker, God, and say why we can't do that, why we accepted all this death. It's unacceptable. Stand outside with God looking back in on his beautiful, remarkable invention of life, and looking at where we stand now, and it's all at risk because we're doing greed, the world of devil. Think about it. And things become more clear. You realize that people can become better when the truth and love is the avenue. when it's greed and you're trying to force your way on them, they'll never see the progress. They'll never see the hope. And that's why their plans are fundamentally wrong. They accept greed. They have many debts they need to pay back. And it's all at our expense, and we accept that. It's at our expense, and it's at our death. So that's why I feel it's so important. And I'll be doing everything I can to change that. You know what's funny? I get on these casts talking about the election, my decision, for example, to endorse President Trump, all because of the energies. And I want people to stay in the mode of change so that love has a chance. Greed is not going to allow love to come in. That's what it's doing all this for. The energies are positioning it to lock greed out. It's like our fate has already been written for us. That's how can I accept that? Biden is part of that. If you're looking at the energies, forget everything else. If you're just looking at the energies. So I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm going to do love. And love's going to guide me in the right direction. It's going to show me the value. I could do things like run for president because I don't need to win. Because I'm a winner if I just help one person. I could embark upon a mission to just help one person, and I'd still be a winner. But yet, I wouldn't have gone as far as I absolutely could for the virtues that matter for humanity and for all of us. So it wouldn't be of high integrity. Nobody else is talking about this stuff. Nobody's seeking to put this ideology, this belief system in power for all of us, not for me. That's what we need. If we expect greed to give up some power, we're going to have to be using our powers, the power of love. Greed thinks it's so clever in all of its misguided hell, and it gets to kill and win at the same time. But love is more powerful. It just needs to get organized, and it needs a serious conversation. And greed is always going to shut things down because it won't win in the long run with love as the opponent and open light and open atmosphere of communication. It'll have to run because it's going to lose in that. And love is always strong in that. Love is the winner in that world. Love is able to, again, it's that animal that moves and shifts. It looks at things. It's efficient. It gets things done. It knows how important it is to be efficient because there's other people who matter that also things need to get done. The future is a marvelous one. We already know how magical reality is. We already know how magical life is. The only thing we can possibly do is allow our greed to destroy it all for us. That's what's happening. And it's hard for me to see that. That's why I'm here. That's why when I am so desperately trying to get heard and say, listen to what I'm saying. And already I'm an introvert and it's awkward to push out so hard. And yet I do it because I know that nobody else is doing it. And ultimately, I'm not afraid of death. I have God. I'm a lover. I know I'm going to be okay. But that's not the best life has to offer. Or in this experience. That's why I say to you, is this really all you want? What we have? Is this good enough? What we're putting out? Look at the results of it. It leaves people out. And it's okay, apparently, to leave people out. Never will that be okay. To your happy healer lover. Because I just don't believe that's okay. I never will. And so, come with me on this journey. Let's all do love together. Let's make that our agenda. Let's let that clarify our decisions. Let's let that make justice complete. Greed will never get justice right. You're trying to do justice, and you instead picked up greed to make justice a reality, and then you wonder where and how you went wrong. But you went wrong. You went so wrong because you made justice and you did it the wrong way. You attacked. You were supposed to love. Martin Luther King knew that. And again, am I a bad guy now? You got to shut me out because I said we got to love? Am I fake? Is that what I am? Can I not be any more pure? Cannot the truth speak for itself? Cannot we recognize that we matter, have purpose and value that goes above and beyond Donald Trump? That if Donald Trump happens to be near the truth, we have to actually regress, go backwards in life so that we don't get near Donald Trump, who is near the truth? Is that really how we intend to live our lives? I don't think so. We're going to call out strikes. We're going to be honest. And we're going to talk about the truth. We're going to love. And we're going to change people that way. You'll never change anyway. The way you're going, you only make enemies. And you make so many of them. And that's what the devil's looking for. So you're also destroying your salvation. You're working for the devil. And I say that with love. I wish it wasn't true. I want to see it not become true. I want to see us change that. And I know we can. That's why I'm a believer. And I have faith. And oftentimes people say it's not possible. But it is. They're just, many of them, they're happy with the way things are. They landed in a medium level area. They accepted they're a devil. So they say, oh, the hell with you, the hell with you. They're just pleased in that. They're in content. They're failures. They look like success, though, in this world. But they're not. They gave up. They had no courage. And so, but we can do better. We don't, even those folks, they could do better. And they realize it. And they will, with love. I have faith in it. Because I love them so much. I love all of us. I love me and I love you. And love is what's going to fix this. Because we get to look at the truth with clarity. And if you don't ever get to do that, you're never going to have the kind of truth that fixes problems that are making your life worse. So just it's an honest equation of facts. You can't have a problem-solving life that's peaceful and without problems if the things you're doing to solve those problems cause more problems than they solve. That's a fact. And that's all greed will ever do. Pride, animosity, hate, passive aggression, pretending, fakeness, manipulation, all that greed uses in order to stifle hell in the human race, in the human species, make us forget that we're all the spirit within, make us forget at the fundamental level we're energy, make us forget the things that matter most. They put on our news screens things that we're talking about. It becomes a big echo chamber again. When I'm not part of, I see the bigger, I'm stepping out, I see what matters, and they're talking about this little stuff. They can't even remember what mattered last week, and still yet they're doing it this week. We need a lot of changes. People are really lost right now. And I'm your happy healer lover. And I'm on this journey. And I'm going to write a book, and we're going to help people. And I need your help. God bless you. We could have had more. We'll have more in the next time. Participate. I have a lot of people that are already used to seeing my videos and once they've been recorded, because they know that I go on, and sometimes in the past I never really did how I'm doing now, which is at least a day before, even sometimes more than a day, to schedule an event and to just do that event. And this way here, they know what to expect. It's so important, I believe that. Yep. What we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and play that film for you. I think you're going to enjoy it. Okay. And now we're going to add that in here. momentarily. And I think you're going to enjoy this. I actually do. I think you're going to like this. Okay, here it goes. I'm going to go ahead and I did that. Make sure it plays properly. So you might get an echo feedback while I determine that the volume is working properly. Volume is working. Okay. So we are going to go ahead and put that through now. Stand by. Coming to terms in this election, realizing the choice that I have to make has to be a logical choice. Okay. I've seen it populate and disappear again. Alright, coming to terms in this election, here goes. Realizing the choice that I have to make has to be a logical choice. Because if we don't do that, we're not going to have the future we need to have. Coming to terms realizing the choice that I have to make has to be a logical choice. Because if we don't do that, we're not going to have the future we need to have. Knowing that the effort wouldn't translate if my inner being wasn't in the right path for us to have this wonderful translation. The most difficult thing for me in this situation is realizing that even though our plans, the effort that we put in, the education around it, the understanding, the purpose, that we have a direction, we realize what's happening. The technology is moving so fast and spreading out in so many different areas, and computers making robotic new abilities, and seeing what it's doing in biology and medicine, curing diseases and having new opportunities and ways and a means to even talk about curtailing aging and curing cancer. All of this stuff is absolutely amazing. Alright, so progress. Speaking of progress, and think of how important electric cars have always been to our necessity to get off of fossil fuels. People knew that, and yet smart people talked about it. It wasn't just Elon Musk. In fact, many smart people tried doing it, and yet the big automakers, they knew it too, and they didn't move. Why didn't they move? They're moving now. What made them start moving now, whereas before they did not move? It was because of seeing is believing. That's what today's lesson is. When us human beings see something incessantly, the belief becomes instantly. That's where we're all headed. We were all smart enough to know before that we were headed to an electrical drivetrain system in vehicles powered by renewable energies. Yet many people resisted changing until there was somebody else who took the journey. We are a species that relies upon journey. And once it has been proven, because seeing is believing, it's almost spiritual. Even though we can forecast and see the future and know that what we're saying is proper and correct, it's not the same as when seeing it. Seeing is believing it. It's knowing it's true. And the fact is, up and until Elon Musk started Tesla and was able to show that electric vehicles were a viable form of transportation, that they could be super fast. And he had the right virtues and values around the company, in that he was always inviting other car makers to come along for the ride. That was in the inception of the company. And knowing that set them on a moral path and a business path. When the stock market works at its best, that's what it is. It's an avenue at which people can come together and use their money to root for a company, to root for an idea, to root for progress, to root for ingenuity, and to reward it. And when it's working its best, the ingenuity translates, and the reward translates, and the benefits translate, and growth occurs. Ingenuity is the founder of wealth. It invented it. Ingenuity invented so much more than everything that we take for granted today. Ingenuity indeed also invented wealth itself, and it continues to invent wealth. And people take that for granted. And then until it's seen, no matter how much you forecast with sound numbers, with science and logic, until it's seen, then it's believed. And it's moved upon, it's acted upon. And the moment that Elon Musk was starting to have his gigafactories in place, and turning out the Model 3 and some of these subsequent models, and now the Cybertruck, and he's actually showing it can be done. And other car makers have taken notice, and they said, well, okay, we can't allow him to take over the entire market, because they too were smart enough to know where everything was going, except for they didn't act. And the moment somebody else did, it gave them a reason they had to act. And that's the unfortunate thing when you have creativity that's stifled, and you have
I'm not sure if
courage that's
coming through
stifled.
right now.
People aren't able to speak about the truth. And that's why the truth is so important, is so that new discovery can take place, so that we can all choose a way that's based on logic, reasoning, and compassion. And you got to have both, otherwise we can all choose a way that's... The journey is important. Realize that we have to be on a journey, and we have to build and grow new and better and stronger ways to deal with our 21st century. The journey is important. Realize that we have to be on a journey, and we have to build and grow new and better and stronger ways to deal with our 21st century. The journey is important. Realize that we have to be on a journey, and we have to build and grow new and better and stronger ways to deal with our 21st century. Realize that we have to be on a journey, and we have to... One thing, and yet there's so many other things. And we have to consider what is our role in our own demise. And we're responsible for causing the problems. We have to also then be responsible for the solutions. And so we have to think in a way that allows us to be creative for those solutions. And we have to use every possible tool in the toolbox in order to do that. And I think about a physicist that I like to listen to sometimes, and he made very good sense when he talked about this theological person who was raising their child to believe in God, and was Jewish, and one day her son came home and said, "Oh, I don't believe in God." "Oh, well, what made you think that?" "Because cosmopolitan." And so Neil deGrasse Tyson does not believe in God and is an atheist, but nonetheless wanted to supply her with an answer that was true to his responsibility as a scientist, as a human being. I love that. And to each other. That's very important. And he gets that. And even though he doesn't believe in God, he derives purpose and value out of his ability to help others learn. And he talks about that and his serious responsibility to that. So he says he tries to put his mind frame in their belief system so that he can better understand where they're coming from in order to better offer guidance, as he put it. And so his view on this is quite interesting. And I believe that what it ultimately means is he's using happy healer virtues even though he's an atheist, because he's using logical reasoning in that God Almighty is simply, in an abstract sense, love, the most powerful force that'll ever matter to a human being in this universe, and truth, the unbiased truth between us, because that's the force that's at work, and it's a powerful force. It's a spiritual force, and it's the same force that keeps us holding back when we lack the right virtues and values and courage, when we're not able to do our lives in the sense as we have always done, and live a journey for courage and discovery and ingenuity and stepping up to the next milestone. And there's something about this experience in humanity and part of our duty, our God-given duty, to continue to progress. Otherwise, we degress and fall into the dark ages that has already happened in human history, and by golly, it can happen again. We have to be so focused on the right virtues and values in order to succeed as a humanity. And one of the things that Neil talked about is the very concerning state of humanity, and a lot of people question as to whether we can even make it to a type 1 civilization, or whether we can even make it through the next 100 years. And what I say is, we can, but we have to pull upon every contributing factor in this game. And what I would say to scientists is, as your happy healer lover, I have faith, and I'm a lover, and that if we can bring on board with us those who love God and can see with logic the right way that love and compassion, and that we can unify under logic and truth and the virtues of compassion, the embodiment really of our almighty creator, that we can, by deducing ourselves to reasoning and compassion, come to the same conclusions, then I think that we can unify people. And thereby, that if we can unify people, and that makes that energy real, purposeful, and useful, then you tell me how the spiritual energies that made it all possible isn't real. Because that's exactly what the Happy Healer's objective is in this campaign, and that's why we're in this campaign. It's to inspire and to bring about a better world through unified efforts in solving major problems, so that we can avert a disaster, and the continuity of humanity itself is no longer in question, that our children can have a future that where they can plan and continue to take the success that we've handed them, which will be monumental success if I have anything to do with it, if we have anything to do with it, if our ingenuity has anything to do with it, if our courage has anything to do with it, if our sense of journey and purpose in this life has anything to do with it, we will be handing them over a safe, sound situation, primed for future growth and progress, so that we can fulfill our human destiny. I'm your happy healer, Keith Landi, for President of the United States of America, and I am a lover. I'm a humble lover, and I operate off of happy healer virtues. It's what keeps me going. When the campaign bus, Happy Force 1, burned down, I realized I had to continue going on strong because of the fact that happy healer virtues were at stake. I represent a very important very important factor in life. I represent happy healers, and so we have to keep that intact, and that nobody else is doing it, and as representing happy healing is so important to me that I wouldn't do anything to the virtues and values that we are doing in this campaign. So I represent a very, very important factor in life. I represent happy healers, and so we have to keep that intact. And nobody else is doing it. And as representing happy healing is so important to me that I wouldn't do anything to the virtues and values that we are doing in this campaign. So I represent a very, very important factor in life. I represent happy healers, and so we have to keep that intact. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. That was some insights that I think will definitely help you in life if you allow them to impact your soul. And we're going to be going into a little bit more of the happy healing virtues moving forward than we did before. Turn the page on a few things, mainly because we've covered so much. I don't like recovering a lot of what was already there. That's what makes the past work still very useful, and we wouldn't want to be wasting time. Time is so valuable, and there's so much to discuss. There's just a lot to discuss and to consider. So let's just go ahead and wait a second here. Coming to terms in this election, realizing the choice that I have to make. Okay. Alright, now you can hear me. Welcome back. Yeah, there's just those little mishaps. They happen sometimes, but I wanted to bring you on to the page here. And we'll just go over some different stuff. This is my Facebook. You know, I'm a lover. I spend all my time pushing forward the prospects of love and the idea of love and truth, unbiased truth, as a means in order to bring us together and discuss real issues. And so I'm going to just invite you on my Facebook. Could be a little interesting, a bit exposing for me, but I don't mind. The truth is I'm a pretty open person, really. I don't have much to hide. You know, I'm just a lover. I'm pure. It's pretty pure effort in that way. So I don't know why this thing is not giving me what I need. There we go. Activity log. That's what we wanted. And we have a lot of people talking. Okay, that's for the video right now that we're on. Alright, that's for I'm on in several areas, so I can't be everywhere at once. It's pretty pure. There you go. So we can go ahead and get back off of that, though. And yeah, so here we are. I just want to show you some of, you know, give it a chance just to do a little bit of stuff on social media here. Oh, if you look at this, this is something very true that's going on. Think about it. This is a journalist, just to be clear. This is a corporate shill. These energies tell you the truth on this. People that go deep on things, they find real truth, they expose it. It doesn't matter how they found it. If it's real truth, it needs to be accepted as real truth. It shows us the deep inner workings of a very bad situation, and that we have to change things. And a lot of people don't have that courage. And then on the other end, you have people that get paid millions of dollars and have cushy lives, and their objective is to just follow the rules and be told what to say and be good robots, as I like to call it. You know, they know better. they'll talk about it, but their courage is really low. So which one is the real reporter? And I think that most people would say that it's clear which is the real reporter. Always about love. So here even I say, you're welcome from now on out. I'm always throwing out wisdom and happy healer virtues, understanding. We have a lot of things we're going to be sharing. I ended my campaign for 2020 and with a renewed invigoration for 2024 and endorsed President Trump this time around due to the energies. And I wish the campaign would have been better, but it wasn't. And even they can put me on. I would do that and show as a Democrat that I had an open enough mind to see through the energies, that I have no hate holding me back from my ability to do what benefits humanity best. So I'm not with all these triggers that don't do anything to help us get put forward, but only attack my ability to be happy, really, because I know I'm selling myself short. I know I'm not going the distance, and that's what that is. So that's why I made that choice. And I was only talking there because I was saying that to a Trump group. And I'll be leaving out these kinds of notices so you'll know when I'm coming on live. And also there's going to be a lot more that I'll be discussing, because there's a lot of talents that I have that I can share that I don't even get into because I'm just doing my life. But they're part of the Landi Mantic's brands of passions, really. And that's an entire network that I built before I ran for president. And it's amazing. It's all my passions, and I have so many of them. And I just visit each one as I do them and share things I do and lift people up as I go. And that's what Landi Mantics is about. And it's a studio also, because it produces those videos that show the progress, that shows the talent, that shows how it's done. And we have drone mantics, that's fun, and mind mantics, and all kinds of different passions. And so I would appreciate you checking that out and joining any of the groups that you personally also share a passion in, or think you may share a passion in, because I see that growing in the future. If the work that I do culminates in having any kind of a community at all, are we capable? Can we have a community based on love? Is that even possible? And if it is, then, and I believe it is, I have faith. You see me, my efforts, they never end. They are ongoing, and they'll remain ongoing. And so it's something you can trust and hold even accountable to the truth. I'm not going anywhere, and you can approach me and say, wait a second, brother, this is wrong. Let's get that right. And I'll listen, and we can adjust and become smarter together. And so that's how I like to live. I love it. I think that's what collaboration should look like. Not, oh, we're getting more views. Oh, I always believe if you do something really well, people will come. You don't have to be so in tune of, oh, give me all this massive attention. I'll pay for anything. And then you have the attention. And because you have nothing real to say, you get goofy. You talk about things that are just simply for the sake of entertainment. Do you think you're helping those souls? You got them all now. I mean, this is how we break down society. And greed is in control of that. So, and I believe that if you put out goodness, goodness will come back. And that's how happy healer virtues teach. And that has been true in my life. And I'm so humble and thankful to realize that truth. It makes life so much simpler. We're not in this together. We are indebted to each other to have happy lives. And that is not just between a husband and a wife. It doesn't work. You're missing other people. So you see many marriages break up in greed hell. But in love, you get to do that with everyone. You get to expand the same love you have for your children for everyone else, and that they also love you. It's such a safer world. It's a world with more production and with more care and with more inventions and new technologies. The world we have now is nothing like any of that. It doesn't provide any of that. It doesn't care to provide any of that. I mean, I don't know why anybody would stick with such a losing proposition, having lived in that world for so long, the pain and the suffering, the aching, knowing that we are the energy and the spirit within. We have the ability to do technology and to solve these pains and aches. We can care for one another. Instead, our greed keeps us so trapped, keeps us so limited, keeps us with the inability to get anything done. And so we got to realize that, and we have to talk about it. And you realize the truth, you have to share that truth with others. That's an obligation. We are so indebted to one another. And I think YouTube is a great place in order to recognize that truth. Look how many YouTubers come out and they want to get known. And then their fans and supporters ultimately support them. This is what life is. We're together in this. And yet, some people still like to believe that they're in this world alone, that people get in their way, and that wouldn't the world just be so great if they owned everything and they were just by themselves? And I say, think deep on that. Is that really what you want? And if what you really want is something else, I say, work for it. We're never going to get it. And so that's the happy healer in me coming out. It's so important, right? I'm out of my drink. That's because I have a lot to say for one thing, and yeah, just have a lot to say. And I'm grateful for people who listen. I'm grateful to you. You know, I don't even know you in some cases. I know a lot of the people that know me, and I care about them a lot. And I come on and I speak directly to them. And I'm speaking to you. I think of you, even though I haven't quite figured out who you are on the other side. I know you're there. And that's a wonderful thing. I want to grow that. Can we grow that energy and see what happens? We're living this life together. It's unfolding as we go. The story is alive. I want you to be a part of my story. And I want to be a part of yours. And so you see in YouTube, that's what it is. Again, if in life we always run into these obvious truths that we're seeking community. If you look in church, people do greed hell everywhere else, but then in church they get to do community and love. And even there it's broken because you have the church that's just trying to be its own echo chamber of love in the world of greed hell. That's its bigger echo chamber. So we really have to work on the big one that's going to change everything. And until we do, we're going to continue to have these types of problems. Unconscionable problems, unhelpful problems, things that have no hope of getting us anywhere near the promised land, and yet they're fervent. Okay, I want you to listen to this. This was from the debate last night. We have Biden and Trump talking about, once again, Russia, which is a phony hoax, let's face it, and the many different avenues and problems that we're facing between Joe Biden now with the computer Hunter Biden, and the lies and not obviously not accepting. And greed hell, one never accepts responsibility for anything they're doing. Everything is about victory and no expectation of apology, no expectation of acknowledgement, just victory, no love. That's greed hell. That's essentially greed hell at its best. And just churning out death and churning out non-care. Nobody matters in the world of greed hell. And so it's not true. That is categorically a major lie. So never fall for that lie, because it's that lie that is killing us all. And all right, so we're going to go ahead and play that here now for you. I just want to make sure we got everything going good and great and under control with love. And that's exactly how we do. is with love because I love you.
I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Vice President Biden, you may respond to 30
Yes,
seconds. And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. Number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants, underwrote it. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it will show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people are saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your account
Nobody
tell you
told
when
me
you
that.
were released?
Excuse me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe. And your son gave you, they even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know, maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions
I have
about
to
all of this.
respond to
But I'm going to let you both respond very quickly. You just said you spoke to your accountant
Yes.
about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you
As
have
soon
a
as the audit-
deadline for when you're going to release them?
I
to the
get
American
treated
people?
worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because I have a lot of people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance to talk about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he? He's been saying this for 4 years. Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're going to release your taxes. Nobody knows, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on, folks.
So, President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you.
Sure. I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. 48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent 1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because the kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken, I mean, your brother made money in Iraq. Millions of dollars, 48 million. I guarantee you, I spent all through you, Joe, and they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask some questions about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had it. The only guy who made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
President Trump, let me ask my question to you.
Okay, just one thing.
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. $183,000, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the Vice President respond to that quickly, and then I need to get to a question to you. Very
no basis for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is, everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was open to do. It was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking up money.
President Trump, thank you. We do need to move on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific, what would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China. up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger there at all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up only 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's the way I will run it, and that's what we did in upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, and let's talk about North Korea.
I have to respond to that.
Okay, very quickly. And then we'll move on to
$1.5
North Korea.
billion from China to manage after spending 10 minutes in office and being Air Force Two, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy though, what specifically are you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going to make them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave $28 billion.
New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers. Taxpayers' money. It's what? Taxpayers' money. I know the taxpayers. It's called China. China paid $28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry. Okay. And now we have a steel industry.
Okay, Vice President Biden, your response, please.
My response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it. He doesn't really talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires for the ball because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making. In middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont, they're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want to talk about North Korea. I do want to turn to 10 seconds, Mr. President.
It's a typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk about North Korea.
I'm not a typical politician.
Okay.
That's why I got elected. Let's get off the subject of China. Let's talk around sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next one.
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House. Right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, Millions of people would be
Okay.
dead right now.
President
We
Trump,
don't have
that's
a war,
30
we don't have a
seconds.
good
Thank you.
relationship.
Vice President Biden, to you, North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat? Right
Because
now?
I make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal, because here's the reason. Because he's not going to do it. China. That they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off. And they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get the Korean Peninsula should be a nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
They tried
Very
to meet
quickly,
with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
gotta
for
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it. And that's okay. You know what, North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't listen. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump, we
with
have to
leaders
move
of other
on, 'cause
countries
we have a
is a
lot of
good thing.
we have a lot of questions to get
Yes.
to.
That's
Your
like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he in fact invaded Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you. We're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And it
let's
didn't
move
happen.
on. Let's move on and talk about
He left
American
me a
families.
mess, Kristen.
President Trump, okay, we
They
need to move
left
on.
me a mess. North Korea is a mess.
We
And in
need to
fact,
move
if
on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to
2
all
or
of our
3
other
months,
questions tonight.
it was a very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
It was a very, they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is healthcare, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and healthcare is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better healthcare, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time. And I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families. under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine, he won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job with healthcare, and we're going to do even better.
Okay, Vice President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your healthcare plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option, become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically enroll, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance, the reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None, zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover. 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government?
I say it's ridiculous. It's like saying that, the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think healthcare is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable healthcare. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions as well as a whole range of other people who in fact are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick? Because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's gone under. We have to provide health insurance for people at an affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President Trump,
He was there for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now there as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like you went with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination, where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania and he says, oh, we're going to have fracking. And you never asked that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
By the way,
but somebody should ask the question. He goes for a year. There will be
we have a number of topics we're going to get to.
That's a big question.
We're going to get to.
It's the same thing with socialized medicine.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period. Period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. And what we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And you're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on healthcare. Not a thing.
When
Very
he
quickly,
says,
then I want to talk
when
about
he
what's
says
happening
public
on Capitol
action,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine and healthcare. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally destroying, and destroying your Social Security. And this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay, let's hear
It was
Vice President
impossible
Biden
to work.
respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's a
Biden, your
very
response.
confused guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden he's running against. And the idea that we're in a situation that are going to destroy Medicare, this is the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold, his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security, Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023 with no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
He tried to get rid of, he tried to hurt Social Security years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All right, let's move on. I'm going to move on. Mr. President, I have to move on to the next question.
He said
or
the
else
stock
we're not
market
gonna have
will
time to talk
boom
about
if
it.
I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's
Look
move
at
on to the
analysts
next
saying that.
question, very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claremont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last 3 years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more dollars. $700 billion more dollars. Because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to move on.
401ks are through the roof.
We're going to move on.
Are through the roof.
All
And he
right.
doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period of time before he even knew.
We're going to move on to
And he
the next
left. And the
question.
people of Pennsylvania.
Let me move on to my next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work. And as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats and all friends. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President,
You know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
You know what? On this, I'm a little bit disappointed in a lot of people, actually. This help that people need is so central to their lives. And, you know, in my position, I'm actually in a position where I see ordinary people who are struggling all the time myself because I'm actually out of a house. I'm living in my car. And I make the best of it. I'm not even complaining. I'm so invigorated about doing love, about doing the right things, about going in the right direction. I couldn't even be bothered about other things. I'm in such a happy healer world of love. It encapsulates my being that I can manage to somehow muster the energy in order to come out of the hell that the world is putting on us. That is, and I call it greed hell. That this world of greed hell that puts on us. And so the energies matter so much. And, you know, that's why I'm looking at the energies. And a lot of people, they're fed up and they're looking for change. And during this coronavirus, it taught us just how unprepared we are and how unacceptable that is, because we should be so technologically advanced. That's not to say Hillary would have done better. That's not to say Biden could do better. And that's not to say Trump is doing horrible. That's to say that greed hell, trying to get things done in the world of greed hell, is a really difficult thing, because greed hell's, for every one problem you fix, you create three more. And greed hell is always about trying to be manipulative in its way of doing things so that it can be corrupt and take more out of every situation. And so what we need is a recognition that love is a powerful force within the human species, and that if we are to come together, that love is that force that we'll need to utilize in order to do that, together with truth. If you have love and truth, you can do that. That's my view. Now, if you look in the energies again, and I'm going to be coming out shortly in a moment and explain why it is that I support Donald Trump when I'm getting out of this campaign for the year 2020, and that how it sets up 2024 for a much better situation for lovers. So it's all part of energies that we see. We are all part of this sea of technology, energy, and information that's coming together. And so when we see these dangers so far in advance and we do nothing about them, and then they come, people have a hard time accepting that, myself included. We realize that as normal people, understanding our pains, if we were in the seat of power, we would do things differently. We would do things with love. We wouldn't forget about the little guy. We wouldn't forget about anybody. And we would all be better off for it. And if you are just joining, or if you've been around for a while, that's great. You already understand, because I've explained this earlier in the video. But if not, it's worth going back, because there's so much happy healer ingenuity that is there for the taking, that'll help you grasp an understanding of at least where I'm coming from in this. I understand where you're coming from. In fact, I'm so clear on the truth and flexible that despite having been 2 years working so hard for the mission of love, that I step out of it and I say, you know what, I'm going to work for God Almighty. And I'm going to say that in this moment, at this moment, the best decision in the energies is to go with the way of President Trump. And the left, if they get Biden in there, are not getting a progressive candidate. They're not getting somebody who's going to do all the things that they wish to do. And in a way, how dare them for thinking they can get all those things done in the world of greed hell, pushing their ways on people, shoving things around. That's not how you get it done. You bring people together based on love, and you have the truth as a guiding star. That's why it's so important to be delicate with these energies. And if you find that, let's say, Biden becomes the president and we see Democrats stepping back, they're no longer invigorated. You see them sending out tweets and posts about they're looking forward to getting completely asleep again. That's not helping the progress that we're desperately needing. And just because Biden is there and Trump is out is not making anybody's lives better. We have to be realistic about this. We have huge, monumental human problems that we created, that we have to use our human ingenuity and God Almighty to come up with the solutions and have the courage to do that and to come together to do that. And we need the right leadership to do that. Right now, what we have is a mess with people that are constantly trying to play this game of trickery. Oh, who landed on the top, the last? Did I get the last word? All the things that matter are mattering of very short, small value. Human beings in the world of greed hell, very short, small value. Just profit matters. And when greed wants something, it demands. When love wants something, it shows the way forward, and it unveils the truth, and it enlightens and lifts. That's not something greed is ever going to be able to do. It's a different kind of energy altogether. And so because of these energies, and they're so clear, that's why I'm supporting Trump. And I'll get more into this. It's a very important topic. People are so triggered these days. I love all people on the left, the right. My faith teaches me that. And being open about the truth that's all around us, It should be able to pass the scientific method. Yeah, even cultural truth, things that you talk about. Oh, well, this and that. It has an overlaying, lying, larger truth and aspect to it. Here's the tricky part. All these various little problems, like racism, for example, and they have so many different solutions in order to achieve success on, I suppose their goal is to make less racism and make people more, make them better, make them loving. I mean, is it good enough just to have people not call names or, to show an outward sense of racism? Or is it better that they themselves are loving and realize who they are, that they're the spirit within, that we're all the spirit within, that we're all wearing these bodies, and that by doing so, it's an obligation upon each one of us, all to the next of us, that we are to have the best lives possible, that we're here on a journey, and that we're here on a journey to do love and to respect the truth around us. That's the creation of God. God puts us in a box and tells us, figure it out. I gave you the ingredients. And what do? We have a challenge. We have a good way and we have a bad way. We could choose the scarcity and depression and death and hell and ugliness of greed, or we can choose the love and the unity and togetherness and getting things done of God Almighty. And then the choice is for people to realize that that is a real thing. It exists in the energies and it's inside the human spirit. You have a war taking place right now, and it's inside our spirits, our very spirits, this very moment. And I'm so happy to say that my heart is filled completely with love and knowledge and truth, and that I don't get triggered about hate. That's what greed and hate and hell does. They're all cousins of each other, and they like to leave you with so many triggers you can't have a conversation. They like to leave you so disabled and with so few options. It's so limiting, and it leaves you with no courage, and it leaves you fearing everything. That is exactly what promotes bad things to happen. Even we've known this for a long time. Technology has given us the fruit of knowledge, the ability to come out of this. We can solve it. And the fact is, we look at scarcity, some people, and they say that that's the only way things can be. They believe it's a foregone conclusion, that we have to do greed, which is essentially war with self and war with each other, because that we are essentially predisposed to the fact that greed is a foregone conclusion. Scarcity itself is a foregone conclusion, that we have no way around it. And so now we have to do greed and warfare with each other in order to survive. The stronger survive. And that's it. And we forget about our weaker. We just say, they don't matter. And so you're talking about trying to fix racism in that environment. You already have people saying, they don't matter for humanity. People that do matter. These are God's creation. It was our goal to help lift them up. It was our goal to come together, and we failed. We had to slice a part of ourselves off because they are part of us. And we had to say, they don't matter. And we know that's a sin that we should have never made. And I say to myself, I'm living on the streets now. I said that back in my home. Lovers always end up on the streets because this world is set up where if you are a lover and you give back and you give, there's so many takers that don't help back, like how it would be in the world of love. A give and take, a care. Care goes so far. Care is a force of love that when you give it to somebody, it reverberates. It creates this force feedback loop that brings everybody up at a rising tide. And so that is exactly what they're avoiding when they don't do love and that they don't believe in love. And then you even mention the word of love. You say, look, there's this possibility. Isn't it great? We can all come together and have a party and we can fix these problems. I mean, the progressive left wants to talk about doing the Green New Deal, and we know that they're going to mess it up. They're not using efficiency. They're not using the truth. How can they possibly have success? And the right at the core of their ideology is efficiency. They want a good deal for everything. They don't like waste. They want to see things efficient. And what love is so efficient. And we talk about that all the time. So to get this right is just a matter of being loving, caring, and it's as simple as that, but also it's so complicated because it has the ability to care. It doesn't just give up on things. And so that's what greed does. It gives up on things It only cares about profit, which profit is not anything. It's a fake idea that you can have this profit. You see it all the time. I mean, you look at a company on a stock market. One day they're worth 10 billion. The next day they're worth 15 billion. I mean, give me a break. This stuff is just absolutely it's totally out of control, and it's okay. It's our economy. It's a little bit wacky, and the fact is we're surviving right now. I mean, give us some credit for that. I think America shines well. I think God shines on America, really, for all the bad things that we're able to still continue surviving through. I think it's because we are a melting pot, and ultimately speaking, we do have good hearts. There's places in this world where they'll cut your head off and won't think twice. There's so much evil in this world. That's why we have to, as the richest country in this world, 25% of the global population, economy, we possess. That's a massive wealth around the world. Yet only 4% of the global population. And God has shined all that material wealth on us. And what do? Greed. Part of those 4%, they die on the streets. They do love. Love is never rewarded. If you plan to be a loving person and give, soon you'll be homeless. I mean, this is the kind of world we live in. You can't do good deeds. You have people that are looking for a better life. They join a church. They know they do their tithing, and then they can see, oh, this is my family. That's the best they'll ever get out of life, and that's broken. And they know it. And so why do we continue doing it when we can have so much better? Is this the best we could do? Do you take life seriously? And that's why I'm dropping out of the race, because I realistically don't have a chance. You don't even know my name. People don't know me well enough. If they did, I assure you I would inspire them and do my best to bring this out. But because that's not the case, and because the energies mean so much, and because we can't afford 50% of this nation saying, oh, we're good and relaxed, like everything's fine, because Biden gets in and now it's time to just be stagnant for the next 10 years. As if we could afford that. We've already allowed greed to cause so many problems that now we're in a race against time for the continuity of life, at least the way of life, for sure. And, we test these things as if we already didn't know that there were ages of time in the past in human history when we've failed to live up to the moment and we've had dark ages. I mean, the dark ages in this time would be horrible if we fell backwards. And that's what it looks like we're doing. A nuclear war could do that. People are so off keel, and anything could cause such a thing. There's so much pain and suffering. We have to care about each other's pain. I have a pain in my back. You should care. I want to work so hard for you. I give my everything for you. I love you, and I'll never stop working for you. And yet my health has to die while I do it because I didn't choose to go work on Wall Street, because I didn't use my intelligence to go chase money. Instead, I work for you. I work for our humanity, open enlightenment, leadership. People talk about a love, and they talk about a way, they talk about the right way all the time, but they never add to it. I'm going to put that in a powerful position, because the truth is you need to put love in a powerful position. And you see so many people, they have right conclusions, solutions, they're smart people, they lack the courage. So I said, well, as a happy healer lover, one thing I do have is courage. I might not be known by everybody, but we'll fix that. We'll speak the truth. And greed still stamps it down, and it makes it where it's not heard. So when I hear of these indiscretions they're talking about in the debate, imagine me in my own mind. All the meditation I sit there and do, everything I'm going through, imagine me sitting there listening to these guys talk, knowing how much more we deserve, knowing how little time we have left. It's sad. I'm really sad, and I'm let down that I couldn't do better in this campaign. I sold my home and my bus burned up. Can you imagine that? My bus burned up that I bought, and I transformed it. I made it great, had solar panels on top. It was decked out, and it burned up. What can I do? I'm doing everything I can do. Lovers end up on the street. They give all they have. They care and care. And then as they're on the street, their final days, they're giving all they got. And then the pickup truck goes by. Get a job, you bum! That's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. And so We have to change that ourselves if we expect better. It's never going to come from the top. They don't know what we're dealing with. Even they're cognizant of it. They haven't been through it. They're willing to accept greed hell. That's the major sin. And so with that, every now and again, they do right, but every now and again, they pick who dies. They pick who loses. And they do it without care. I could never do that. We have a way forward for all of us. God has given us technology and new ways to deal with things. And what do? We copyright it and use it all for greed. That's what the world of greed hell does. We can come together and do so much better. Imagine what we could accomplish if instead of every single far-reaching, technologically advanced companies like Apple, and all of the different technical abilities of our social companies like Twitter and Facebook, and all the technical and abilities of our automakers and of our computer builders and of our automated machine building and robot building and textiles and all of these different industries coming together in order to build a better life. They share each other's secrets. There's no secrets. In fact, they just share each other's secrets. And that the main overarching goal for everything is to bring things 100 times better and fold up. I mean, just on top of each other. You couldn't even be sad about the waste at the bottom that people look back and say, well, I gave up my little crumb, or I gave up my little crumb. And we're sitting here in this world of abundance where everybody has, where nobody needs for anything. If you want to be rich, you go be rich. The world supplies a way forward. At the fundamental heart of it, we are energy. Energy that can literally translate. Think about that. It can translate into another form of energy, or into matter, or into anything. And that is what we are. It's unbelievable. In fact, you see the way we power our vehicles. What is that coming from? It's coming from fossil fuels. That's us. The electric that powers our homes. Where is it coming from? The fundamental aspects of what matter is. Energy. They actually, when you look at that copper wire, nothing's happening. It just looks like a still wire. But in there, it's energy traveling through at the fundamental level of creation, the truth of creation, what we are and what we really are at the end of the day. What is that copper? What are we? What is all matter? It is electrons chasing around nucleus. A small atom gets smaller. You have quarks, you have protons, you have neutrons, you have all kinds of different things. And you know what? It's all on different rules. We talked about that. That's a beautiful thing to know the difference when it gets to that level, that you can see, well, over here we're energy, over here we're energy. What kind of the future? You could almost imagine maybe this beam me up Scotty stuff has ability to it. I mean, at the heart of it, we can transform into energy. When my bus burned up, I stood out of it. I looked at everything I had. I had like $70,000 wrapped up in that bus. And I had all kinds of equipment. My drones, I had like $10,000 in drones. Let me tell you, when it was all burnt, everything was done. There was nothing but the mass substantially fell. It just like disappeared. The mass disappeared. It weighed less when it was burned than when it was whole. Where did all that matter go? Matter transforms into energy at the fundamental level. And so my bus was burning. My life was essentially in the stock market of life, right? Was having a major go down. And yet everything I had was going up in the fire. And matter, at the end of the day, transforms into energy, and energy transforms into matter. So why is it then that it's not conceivable that we can do a beam me up Scotty? And if we can, we should be working for that. We can do so many other things. I was learning and doing some study on regeneration in cells, and the notion that we can combat aging, that we're on the cusp of new science. Why would you want to be the fool in 2020 who is 50 years old, for example, who doesn't get on the train of technology and moving this forward, but then by the time you're 80, you're on your deathbed, there's no hope for you. But all around you, there's regeneration because they got started. That's what we're up against. That's if we make it there. That's a good world, except for it took too long to get there. The other side of that token is we'll never know. All these mocking devils, they killed it for us all. They never believed in truth. They never believed in love. That's why it's so central. That's why it's so important. And that's why I say, I love you. When I want us to have this, what more do I have to say? I love you. I want you to have this. I want to have this. My goodness, pain is too much in this world. We can solve it. You can have a guy in his mansion, and because we're in greed hell and we're not doing things right, we don't have the solutions. Even though he's got all his billions and his greed all so close to him, he's suffering. We can do so much better, and we deserve to do so much better. And what do we have up there? We have cowards, and we have manipulators and liars, and we have to settle and find out which one of those do we want. Today, I support Donald Trump. Oh yeah, hoorah, I hate you. Give me a break. I support Donald Trump, yeah, because of the energies. Because we can't afford half of this country saying, oh, let's go to sleep again. I mean, do you realize how long in the energies in 2016? Trump was a result of those. He didn't cause that. He was something that just came out of it. And now we want to try and put it to bed. There's so many people, I just want to go back to bed. And these people are like robots. We can't have that. Their lives will lose the possibility of hope and love. And so we have to get out of this world of greed hell, and we have to get into the world of love. It's so much more powerful. You think of, oh, well, Keith, what do you do about the threats that we face from other countries? When you're a loving world, you're sending out love, the threats begin to dwindle. Nobody threatened. You're not threatening anyone at the same point because you're building so much technology and ability, and you have to protect that. When you see in nature, what do you see? You see delicacy in the center, and you're surrounded by a hard shell, right? Surrounded by a hard shell. And what we need too is a hard shell around humanity and around everything we do so that we're safe. And that's exactly my belief on it. You would be prepared technologically. Nobody could attack this country. We would be safe. Nobody would be able to do anything because we would be in super progress. They can have nuclear bombs, whatever they like, because their progress will never match ours. They can send them all over. They'll just, the shell will work. And that the shell perhaps is even so powerful through technology that they wouldn't even be able to get it off the launch pad. It protects them too. Great shell. And this is the kind of thinking we need to solve major problems. And they don't want to think along those lines. They don't recognize the fact that what we see in real life is matter and energy transforming all over the place. We see all these energies in the spiritual realm moving around, and people just like not cognizant of it, walking around. They look they look blanked out. And I don't blame it on phones or connection or they're into their phones. That's great. Technology is great. We need more of it. I blame it on manipulation, lies, triggers, and we just need to get better at that stuff. So that's my response to that portion we've seen in the debate just now. But let's go ahead and pick up a little bit more so we can get through this debate session. I love you guys so much, and I can't imagine why anybody would ever choose this horrible life that we have to choose from between what we could have, what we really could have.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden, because let me ask Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new. It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with 800.
And they could have, and I'm sorry, I'm going to pause this for a moment, because you know what? They could have, when they did the first bill, done more for people, individuals. They know they're suffering. And now we took all this time. I mean, think about it. We're almost to the election now. And they still never did that other bill. They were talking about doing more right away, and that they had put so much money aside. Where did all that money go? Think about that. And now they're talking about getting more money. They weren't helping you. They helped some businesses, but not to the tune that they should have. And also, these businesses have needed more help for a long time. Many of them already went under, while all they are doing is hate, hell, and greed as hard as they can. It's unacceptable. And the other thing is people have to realize we do these different programs for the businesses, and all that's great, and it really builds up and protects businesses. But guess what? If you don't take care of people, they can't even go to the businesses and buy anything. So what happens is in another 3 months, you give all that business money, them businesses, all that money, and ultimately you just have to give them more because you're not taking care of the regular people. And through all of this, we should be innovating so fast, and we should be building. And I mean, this would be in history the greatest time ever to have capitalized on bringing America together with the right leadership. Think about it during COVID when people were at home. I mean, you know, back in World War II, you had President Roosevelt who did fireside chats. Have you ever heard of that? It's a historical thing. And he did it to help people get through difficult times during World War II. This is a difficult time. And what we need is the same thing, fireside chats by people by the President of the United States, who's giving us inspiration and showing us a better way. And people can be moved. They can be moved based on love. And so we should have done this. It's a disgrace that they're still going through it now. By golly, get it done. And when you do it, make sure you take care of the people. My God, take care of them. And there's better ways we could do everything. You know, I get into the physical policy, meaning the money policy of the way to get things done. And these guys are stunningly, you know, it's just that, again, they don't see the full picture. They're just looking in greed hell. They forgot that the world of love is the most powerful one and gives you clarity.
$1 billion. I was able to get out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets and states that have to balance their budgets, so then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers. 45 billion cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter with
All
this?
that was passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these kids. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We're going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
If I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President, we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses
Yes.
and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage.
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed the that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. It's not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to immigration, but I want to
say
get
we
your
have to help our
reaction.
small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said that
We have to
recently.
help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses.
You
How
said-
are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said
Not
recently
true,
you would
by the way.
consider raising the federal minimum
it.
wage to $15
Say
an
it.
hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15
What I
an
would
hour. Is
like,
that still the
and I
case?
would consider it to an extent. But
In a
what I
second
really
administration?
in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, in different places, I know different places, they're all different. Some places, $15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would
Okay,
be
President
ruinous.
Trump, thank you. Quick response, Vice President Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level. And there is no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen, and we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through
But
mail.
how will you reunite these kids with their
Let me
families,
just tell you,
Mr.
they
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages. And then they had a picture in a certain newspaper. And it was a picture of these horrible cages. And they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them. And then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you have a plan to reunite the kids?
Yes, we're working on it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. We're tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up
Listen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
They
to that?
did it. We changed. They built the cages. Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Listen,
you
I will
about
say this, they went
10
down, we
seconds, and
brought
then I need-
reporters, everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some of them
They've gotten
haven't been
such good-
reunited
But
with
just
their
ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship. The idea that they are being sent home by this guy and they want to do that is they're going to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River and it's illegal. And you say, oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 were first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
President,
He had 8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed without having a specific, we got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President Biden, your response.
The catch and release, you know what he's talking about there? If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released. And guess what? They showed up for a hearing. This is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that I seek asylum based on the following premise, why I deserve it under American law.
To be clear, there were twice as many deportations during the Obama-Biden presidency than there was during the Trump presidency. Not that Trump is proud of that, or that he deserves credit for that. In fact, what's causing that is local action at various locations. It's adding up that the cities themselves are creating policies that give a safe haven for people that, when Obama was president, would go straight to deportation. And so really that's trying to have it two ways. When you were worse than the guy you're running against doesn't make you better just because you were nicer about it. And that's what I see a lot with Biden is, oh, go with me. Yeah, I'll do a lot of things you don't like, but I'll be a gentleman while I do it. And that's not good enough. I don't want pain with a smile. I don't want to see our country lose itself. We've got to find ourselves better. And I don't want to see the left get all comfortable, not realizing that that's going to be our death.
We're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
President Trump, your response,
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move
It just shows that he has no understanding of immigration or the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You did Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe. They never.
What I noticed here, and you know that the media is in for Biden, what I noticed here is that when Trump was talking, they shut the mic off. And you could see that his lips are moving, but you can't hear him. With Biden, the mic is always on. And in fact, when in this particular debate, whenever you heard interruptions, you would hear just a simple interruption from Biden, not really too much from Trump. And what you would hear him say is, not true. That's all he would say. And he would say it many times throughout this debate, if you listen. In fact, he had just done it. Not true. That's interfering. And quite frankly, nobody mentioned that. I didn't hear too much of that. That's okay. You know, if what we are wanting is this result, we'll turn our head to the indiscretions that ordinarily we would crucify someone over. The whole thing about it is nobody deserves crucifixion at all. What we deserve is a better world, the world of love. Greed hell's making everybody awful. I mean, you see awful people trying to crucify other awful people. Unbelievable.
Come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay,
But they're
President Trump,
very,
let's
very
give
few.
Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know the law,
section.
Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Know the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on
But we don't have to
the
worry
next
about it. They
section.
terminated it, so we don't have to worry about it
Let's
anymore.
move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about our next section, which is race in America. And I want to talk about the way Black and Brown Americans experience race in this country. Part of that experience is something called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin.
Just to be clear, as a happy healer, I walk through this world Everything I do is to make my life simpler, easier, happier, to make sure that my hard work translates. And that means simpler for me. When somebody's working their butt off and they're not efficient, to me that's awful. They'd be better off just sitting on the couch and figuring out how to be more efficient in life. And the idea that you have a conversation, because the world's an awful place, about one thing, and be so blind to the energies and everything else, the things that'll actually fix it. And then the result of doing that makes you have animosity towards people. But yet you didn't get the right medication, the right prescription for solving that problem. So in short, they're making the world worse. And things like cancel culture is backwards progress. It's not going to take us to the place that they say they want to go. And I challenge a lot of them on that. I challenge liberals, just like I challenge conservatives. I do. And I talk about God and the truth. And ultimately, they come with me. Because, people of faith, they bend. They realize, okay, you know what? This is my salvation. It's a lot more important to me than hanging on to some lie in the world, when somebody with love showed me the difference and the truth is undeniable. For me to hang on to that at that point is expressing such tremendous greed. And that's what we have in the world of greed hell. And so they're teaching kids how to survive in greed hell, telling them one aspect, but leaving them blind for everything else. And this one aspect doesn't get fixed with the prescription they give. Cancel culture, this really reverse racism. And everybody's injected with this because they believe they're the bodies. They threw God away. They forgot that they're the spirit within. And doing so was their biggest indiscretion, their largest sin.
Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. My daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child, when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, just yes sir, no sir, hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is...
You once talked about the fact of the matter? I don't care. I know that black people have a very bad problem with this and we have to fix it. But if all we do is focus on that part of it only, we're not really going to fix the whole problem. People deserve respect. In fact, police officers themselves deserve respect. And police officers themselves deserve to give respect. And as a species, as a human species, we're showing ourselves so incapable of almost elementary social standards because greed is getting involved, where it gets involved everywhere. Sorry I got to bring it up so much, kids. Sorry. Greed is actually that intense in our lives. And so it's destroying everything. You want to make life better, get rid of greed. Do it, and then you'll see. And we become so much more productive, too.
There is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to...
And you know what else there is? There's a lot of soulless people that they curse God and say he doesn't exist. And they expect people to somehow find faith elsewhere. What, faith in Joe Biden? Who likes to, I don't even want to get into his indiscretions. Unbelievable.
Do we hold these truths to be self-evident? All men and women are created equal. But guess what?
There is something seriously wrong being lectured by somebody with that many indiscretions. Think about it.
We have never, ever lived up to. But we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for.
Okay, but he's forgetting about the part where when Donald Trump was elected to become President Trump, that immediately thereafter it was all about, they wanted to block everything that happened. I voted for Donald Trump back then, and I don't think Donald Trump's perfect. I just tell you, he's great for when it comes to change. And if somebody can't admit that truth, then you're not seeing it. I see more change in people ready for change and people pushing for change. The kind of thing that could actually bring about the world of love coming through Donald Trump with all of his problems. Those don't concern me as much as I just love all people, and I'm looking at the energies and I know what the success is. I know where we're headed. I'm very clear on that. And Biden is constantly in this, oh, I'm a good guy image, but it's fake. In greed, it's always about just wearing this good guy image, but behind the scenes being this awful person. You can't do that. You got to be consistent. That's where we're going to find something better. And I really feel it's got to come from the bottom up, because once you're up there, you're so corrupt. I mean, even if you're not so corrupt, let's say the good guys, the ones who we revere, those people are corrupt too. Nobody gets out of it in greed hell. They're all making bad decisions from here there. So it's got to come from the bottom up. And it's got to be pure, and it's got to be open, it's got to be honest, and it's got to be explained as such. This is a challenge. For us to get into the world of greed hell is a real challenge. And so we should expect a real effort to take it on.
Economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how.
Borrow money to start a business. And so they get to decide through the monetary system who gets the loan to start a business. That's what happens all the time. That's how money is created. It goes from the Federal Reserve to the banks, who then decide who gets the money through loans. Use your ingenuity. If you make a bad choice, the money's gone, it's lost. And, that's it for you. But they give you that shot, some people, while the chosen get those shots. The people that are not the chosen, that are not in that group, they get nothing. So this money creation is constantly going to a select few. Some people have figured out this banking system down great. They get to print money, get to do all they want to do, and we just can't have simple, happy lives without dying on the streets in the progress. We give everything we have for a better life because we see things wrong, because we see the greed that they're doing, and we say, we are not going to do that. We want better lives. We'll do different. God Almighty, please follow us to success. We're going to do better. We're going to do it right, and we're really going to love, and we're not going to lie about it. We're going to be true to the cause. We're going to have faith. And what happens? You end up on a street. You continue to live like that. You're a giver. You work 120 hours a week for love, but it doesn't pay, because love, remember, greed has no interest in pushing along the only thing greed wants from love is to steal from love, steal from passion, copyright humanity's greatest gift of knowledge, and then package it up and sell it back to the peons for profit. It's unbelievable. So we got to pull away from this picking winners and ensuring losers game. And you know what? We got to uncover this. People don't realize how big of pawns they are in all this.
How to do those things, just to give people a shot. It's about accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said it, super predators. And they have never lived that down. 1994, the crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln,
we are in a technological future already. We've been able to communicate. We do it all the time. People are together. They're on their phones. They're on social media. The fact of the matter is, the reason why they're talking about things that are so inconsequential, they're so petty, they're not changing your life or my life or making anything better, is because two things. Their agendas, their mission, it isn't to go about a great new world that makes things better for us, that uses our advantages and capitalizes on them and does the best efficiency for human production. They lost their way. They forgot that we invented these systems in order to serve humanity. Instead, it did it for a while, and then now they're using, nefarious forces are using greed, the power of greed, these energies, evil energies, are using these powers, these advancements, in order to keep people in line, in order to manipulate them. They have unbelievable tactics. You think you're making your own decisions. At the end of the day, you're being manipulated. And you'll never think otherwise. You'll never hear otherwise. Not until you go to truth and you go to love. You don't believe in God. Okay, I believe in God. But you know what? You can still not believe in God. And God's plan is so good that we can go ahead and not mention God, but just mention the virtues. And you'll see the consequential common sense logic out of following, and how following those virtues, you'll see the results on following those virtues, and see how well they all work. And you'll want to follow them just because of that. And then you put God back in and you get faith too.
Possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Criminal justice reform, Obama and Joe didn't do it. I don't even think they tried, because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the Black and Hispanic communities, and then historically Black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding. And I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is...
And the truth on this is actually President Trump is right. Again, including the right, left and right, both do this. The Republicans are far from perfect. They're so horrible in many ways of their own. And, not that they're horrible people. People are great. I love people. But the policies, the energies, the ideas that sometimes get circumvented by evil and by the wrong energies because people lost a little bit of what they needed in order to figure out what was right. Sometimes it's courage. They can see the difference, but they don't do anything. Other times it's, comfort. It's greed. Then that becomes greed. They have no faith that if they go the way of love, that they'll be able to continue the kind of comfort they had in greed. Some of them are very cognizant of that, and they don't want to make that choice. And, I say just have faith. Have faith in God. Have faith in love. The energies. They live in you. And you see what's tearing us apart. Be honest with that. And do you really think you can avoid the entire human species falling on its butt, doing greed hell, killing each other, and that somehow you're going to avoid that? You're going to avoid the catastrophe? Hardly true, right? We're all together in this. So it's really important that we're cognizant of that. I had a gentleman just now, one of the watchers here, and, he said, and I was responding to him, actually. I don't know if it went out here. I don't think it did. But, he's talking about, it seems that now he says he doesn't have a lot, and this is Dark Sage, if you're out there, by the way, great buddy, I agree with you. And he says, he lives in Australia, but he watches American politics to try and keep track when he can. Surely he doesn't feel he's as informed as Americans are, probably because he's paying attention. He's a lot more informed than many Americans are. All it takes is to have care, to then incorporate the learning bug, right? Once you have enough care about something, your interest level is high enough that you can start turning on learning and, have an open mind for that. And so he goes on, it seems to me Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump have no vision for America. Mr. Biden seems to always flip-flop on issues. He claims one thing and then immediately runs away from it and endorses another thing. That's very true. You'll never see your happy healer lover do that, sir. And what is Mr. Biden's real stance on issues like the economy or oil? Mr. Trump does not appear to have knowledge on issues that well. He seems to just ramble on all the time. Sorry for calling Mr. Biden Mr. Trump. Over here, you have sort of a calling political leaders Mr. and Mrs. It's a habit. And I think that's good. It puts people on. I mean, think about if I look at my run, I say that I'm running to be your humble, loving brother. We're here to fix issues, and I want to make you proud. I want to empower you. I want to see all of us, our lives become easier through using our ingenuity and our intellect. Like I said earlier yesterday, that so many people are running into finance, and you see this. They go into the stock market. They love it. You go to YouTube videos, endless people putting their brain power for all this greed. And, really what people need is confidence that they'll have food, confidence that they'll have shelter, and that somebody cares enough for their health, and to be free to help solve human issues, to help become part of the production answer instead of the scarcity greed. And that is so much healthier. And that's the way love does things. And that's a clear path for victory. And so I completely relate. There's no cognizant effort on either one of these presidential candidates to make a move for massive progressive change. They're both cowards in that way, but they're lacking. I would hate to see them do it anyway. But just like the Green New Deal, I would hate to see it enacted. Why? Because they're doing it all wrong. It's just like how they fight racism. When they're done, there's so much waste. We need to be efficient and be actually effective in what we're doing. We'll never get there by constantly placing these big mirrors and cursing everyone out and telling them they're awful people instead of showing love and the capacity to love and the capacity to understand the truth and to respect it. You'll get so much further. In a world of love, we're pushing our intellectual ability to the max. We're pushing our ability to create new technological advancement to the max, to bring about a great new world of scientific and technological, economic industry, autonomous industry. It allows our economy to grow with almost an automation element to it. And human beings are relieved from a lot of the mundane tasks that we're pitted in now that are not worthy of people. They're talking about, oh, well, we need a $15 minimum wage. That's all wrong. Andrew Yang had it right when he was talking about the realistic aspect that jobs are going away. And we need to, this was the economy, the market, everything, the government, all of it was invented so it could serve people. So if in the future now things have changed so much, they didn't have all this technology, not even close. If 100 years ago people had seen what we got now, they would honestly think that there's something like a magical presence in the world. It'd be more impressive than when Jesus was on earth for them. I mean, think about what's come out of nature for us. Unbelievable. And that when people respond to these miracles, as you call them, they change in a moment. But yet they miss this miracle. That's how bad people are blinded by what's going on. That's how lost even the candidates themselves are. That's why I said I would have a fun time debating either one of them. And I would have no problem with humility because I'm a lover. I do humility and humbleness well. And they can't stand on their feet in that way. They fumble. They piss their pants. And love keeps you clear and on the right message. They're all over the place. And they're looking for insults to bring their measure up. They're trying to steal clout from one another by punching each other in the face. I'm doing it with wisdom and with truth and with honest effort, because it's not easy to find a way forward there where two distinct ideologies can find a place in this world where they can come together, where we can actually fit the key in to create and start the engine of boom, the world of love. And my goodness, it's a real thing. Don't listen to mocking devils. You know, understand this stuff backwards and forwards. Talk about it to people. And they turn around and tell you that love's not possible. They mock it. Watch, they mock it. And you know the difference because you've seen the energies at work. You work them in your own life. You see how powerful they are. You see how magnetic they are. You understand the truth in it. And, you know, I've run businesses. I've done very successful. I choose to be a lover, and I see the energies very clear on how it works. And yet these folks will walk around like mocking devils. Ah, this guy expects love to fix things. And he's got so happy in the world of greed. And so we have to be honest, and we have to not accept that. When someone says that, we have to say, how dare you? You're the reason why we're in this situation. You're so comfortable with your greed. You're so cozy with it. It's working so well for you. You couldn't be concerned with the woman and her child dying on the street because you have your lattes and you have your comfort in your home and you don't want to jeopardize that. But never mind the fact that we can make that for her too and her children. And you can actually love them instead of mocking the very ability to lift them up. How dare you? You're part of the human species. Are you not thinking about your place in all this? Where do you think you came from when you were incepted by your mother and your father? You were a tiny little infinitesimal small little particle out of the subatomic world is what you were. You're the spirit within. And now coming out of it, you'll be the spirit coming out when you pass on. On your deathbed, you want to talk about how you mocked love all your life? How it couldn't be done? And you chased your greed, and oh, what it did for you. You're the billionaire standing in his mansion with a broken body, wondering how we couldn't do better. Unbelievable.
I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved to colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your response to that, Vice
My
Chair.
response to that is I never, ever said what he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is a guy who said, the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are...
Let's talk about that for a moment. Jail. We're jailing so many people that they caused the problem through their greed, just like you've seen with the opiate crisis. I'm so familiar with it. I see the death all over, and it's caused by greed. Greed of the manufacturer, only profit matters, not people. Greed of the doctor, only profit matters, not people. You know, people say people matter. They go through the motions because they've been trained, but in the back of their mind, they're always worried about that greed. Will I ultimately, now and in the next 40, 50, 100 years, have a roof over my head and food in my mouth? That's what they're concerned about. This is beyond measure how bad we're losing, because we're so concerned about will we have a meal and a roof over our head. Relieve us of that fear and watch our creativity blossom. That's what I say. Be brave. Be courageous. Know it to be true. I'm a lover. Love pays nothing, but I work all my days, every hour of the day, pursuing that. Why? Not for money, for knowledge and for spiritual wealth and for faith, unbreakable faith. And that's where we make progress. Understanding the difficult concepts that makes our world so broken and the solutions on how to fix them.
We're going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people's sentences. We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is the law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change.
Greed has to bribe for everything it gets. And all it does is it's just trying to make a move. They got to actually bribe to do the right thing. And in fact, we can have so much better. We just have to be humble and be loving and see the other side and let our love get into their hearts and let their love get into our hearts. And then we chase the truth.
Change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you do it? You're a vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago and you guys did nothing. You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up, please.
The character of our nation is on the ballot. Think about that. And the fact of the matter is, none of these men can hold up to that statement. So I don't know what he meant by that. I live that every single day. And that character is love. And that love gives me the integrity to stick with truth. I don't see them doing integrity. I don't see them any integrity to truth. Not at all. So that right there is a big, very fake statement. And to be honest, I'll take Trump many times over Biden. Biden's a horrible candidate. And Trump, he's got a lot of faults. But guess what? I can take over, a lover can take over after Trump and still have a lot we can do. The country will be ran a lot better. You'll have a lot more money to work with to do the right things, to follow efficiency, to get things done for humanity, exactly what humanity wants. Let Biden come in and he'll ruin more chances. I mean, it really does seem, and I hate to say this, I don't want to say it out loud, but there are some evil tendencies, I'll tell you.
Respond, and then we're going to have
If this
follow-up
is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
Right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not innocent. He is corrupt, and so is Trump. So a lot of people are. The more you have in this world, the more corrupt you are. Tell me I'm a liar. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that you didn't. You're living life with love and unbiased truth everywhere you go. You're not bending little things to make things better. Those are the kinds of things we're selling out at each other for. It doesn't need to be. Again, it goes back to some people believe scarcity is a foregone conclusion, whereas that's the lie. Scarcity is not a foregone conclusion. We have the ability to do so much better. Matter comes strictly from energy. We can think our way out of this, and yet people don't have the faith we can do that. And that's unfortunate, because instead of living in a world of greed, scarcity, we can live in the world of God's love and abundance.
Baby, Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking.
That's Biden's big thing. Nobody called me that. Nobody said that I have anything bad with Ukraine. Nobody said, yeah, of course, we know the corrupt news organizations. It's been like that for a long time. They'll never give up their hand. They're such poker players, and they ignore you. They pretend you don't even exist. So yeah, we know all about that. Nobody said that.
About the issue.
Laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
And I have to respond to that.
Please.
Because look,
Very quick.
there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan.
I'll tell you what, these guys, You want to know about their secrets? You want to know about their intelligence, folks? Go see Epstein. Then you'll learn about that.
They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
This
That's
way you're
exactly what.
This is where he's going. The laptop is Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President, you've described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that Black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
What do you say to Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of Black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark. But I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire. Every single one. He started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those.
Yeah, we got one that's pouring fuel and the other one that just ignores. Yeah, and I remember during the previous administration, there was a lot of race difficulty. And again, I always say, we're the spirit within. Why are we playing that game? It doesn't lead to success. You never find somewhere, oh, that's the way we go. We fixed racism because we put a big magnifying glass on it and we keep punching each other in the face with all these horrible statements. We are holding accountable and breaking statues, canceling our culture. And, come on, it's insane. At some point, you're going to have to give up all that hate, hell, and greed and do love, or you're going to die. We're all going to die. That's the path to death.
Mexican rapist. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board. He says about the poor boys, last time we were on stage here, he said, I told them to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy is a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
President Trump, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have a follow-up.
You made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean, you said Abraham Lincoln. Where did that? No. You said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the Black community. And I didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the Black community. Now, you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put tens of thousands of Black.
Why is he saying, oh God, like that has no consequence? Mr. Nice Guy, you're not the guy you think or you pretend to be. I'll respect somebody who shows their true colors and does what they believe. I believe Trump in the sense that he believes what he's saying and all the things he does. The fakeness, I can't handle. That you're somehow great. These people will smile while your life is being destroyed.
Men mostly in jail.
All right, let me
they
ask
remember
Vice
it because
President
if you
Biden
look at what's happening with the voting right now,
Let me ask
they
Vice
remember
President
that you
Biden
treated them
about
very, very badly. Just take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime
Okay.
bills that you supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young Black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change it since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done, because I think the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drugs. But they were not in the crime bill.
But
Okay.
why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a lot of it done. We released 38,000. We got 38,000 prisoners left from.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running, to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I just asked
and then we're
I
going to
just
move
asked
on
one
to climate
question.
change.
Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President
Because
Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress.
That's
It's the answer.
interesting.
Well, you
Okay.
gotta talk them into it, Joe.
All
Sometimes
right.
you gotta talk them into it.
We're going to move on.
That was a real engagement right there. That was I think that in the whole debate was the most real engagement. And you've seen there was a clear objective. Why didn't you get it done? And actually, Trump did get that done. And the reason why is because he's got the Republicans and he can strong arm them into action. That's why I always thought Donald Trump's presidency, President Trump would have been a great progressive president for the Democrats if they had realized, instead of fighting with him, that making inroads, they could have gotten so much more done. And by the way, that's not just a guess. That's a fact. And there's people who fought so hard against that. This whole presidency could have been so much different. And for anybody to say otherwise, Trump, I'll be honest, he didn't really have the best chance to do all the things that we could have gotten done. And let me say, Trump was talking about health care for all. And now look where we're at, right? And had the Democrats they didn't work for health care for all. They worked for impeachment. And in fact, they would not want to put a bill on Trump's desk for health care for all. I'm talking about back in his first year. It would have done something that even Obama couldn't get done. And so, that was something that would have been a great deal for Trump. But yet, that wasn't what they were pursuing. They just wanted power. Remember, it's not all the things they say they want to do for you. It's only that they can do it for you. And oftentimes they fail. They never do it. And that if they have the option to do it with somebody else, but it's not them the one that's who doing it, then they don't want it. They say don't do it because they want the power. That's all they ever wanted. So it came out very real right here. And then he said, oh, well, I had a Republican Congress. Well, guess what? Trump had a Democrat Congress, and he got it done because he can be moved on some of these issues. I've seen that. A lot of people have.
Move on to our next section.
Like I
which
did
is
with criminal
climate
justice reform. I had to
Okay.
talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen,
You did what we
we're running out of
already done.
time, so we got to get on to
Okay.
climate change, please. You both have very different visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental regulations have hurt jobs in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, How would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama.
Hey, if they want to do conservatism and pull back so that way we can save our economy, why don't they do it with their attitudes, adjust it, and pull back all that hate and hell? Realize that we can come together on so much more, and we can deal with things that are huge, that are practically impossible to deal with, and be quite successful at them. And that's just not what they're doing. They aren't interested in inroads at all. And it's all just about power, and it's especially like that on the left right now. It's unfortunate because, and I get it, they feel really hurt. I love them, and they're just so focused on, they're focused on trying to get revenge. I mean, like I say, we live in a world of greed hell. This is awful. Why are we doing this?
Let me use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 30.
Oh, and we need technology. We can only tighten our belts so far. We believe we live in a world of scarcity, but we can, with love, we live in a world of abundance. We need to change the way we do things. We have to become so much smarter. Technology is the answer. That's God's gift that comes out of nature. We have so many gifts of technology. We have to go that way and run that way as hard as we can and fix this problem. And, of course, tighten our belt, do whatever we can. But when we're getting a technology, and my feeling is tightening the belt will not even be a concern by the time we make that kind of progress. So they're focused on all the wrong things. It's about, let's be conservative for saving our lives with, when it comes to global warming. But when it comes to the attitudes that is really the energies that's responsible for all the killing and hell and everything we experience, let's just leave that alone. Let's double down. It's horrible. People need to change. We need to become better.
5 years under this administration, we are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
And we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change, climate warming, global warming is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world, we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit the limit of emissions will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that
We're in a great technological race. China's beating us in so many areas, and we're just ignoring it. And they want to be the leaders on artificial intelligence while we do our civil war and war with self.
take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump, you're right.
They came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC plus 3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC plus 3. Look, a real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it could be good politically. Right. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to. So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers. $100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, $45, $50 an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump, please respond, and then I have to follow.
We are energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds, it's very intermittent, it's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these...
I can't help but just say that Trump is a bit short-sighted on our technological progress when it comes to solar. I have personal experience in that. In fact, I'm in a solar setup right now in Mini Force One, and it works great. There's so much that we can be. I know that a clean energy future through technology. I know that we can solve all these problems through technology. And, between that and the masks, I think he doesn't do himself any favors. I wish I could get him to stop doing that so he can get more votes. And so that we can carry on in the next election and maybe make a difference, get love in, and get rid of greed.
These massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Solar.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world. So it's all a pipe dream. But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. And what about fracking?
All right,
Now we have to ask
let me
about
allow
fracking.
Vice President
I
Biden to
have
respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did show the tape, put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is,
Show
he's
the list.
flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because they,
Okay, so when Biden feels confident he's right about something, he says, go ahead and play the video on your own website of it. Well, I didn't hear him say that about the laptop and about his involvement with any of these horrible things. All I hear him say is, no, nobody said that. Nobody said that. Things like that.
answer, we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money in doing it, but it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then
Excuse me,
we have.
he was against fracking, he said it, I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking, until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania, he'll be against it very soon, because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said, no fracking or oil on federal
Let
land.
me ask this
I
final
did.
question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they're making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater the percentage gain than it was under, in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the two of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again.
All
And
right.
everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember
Vice
that.
President Biden, your response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that in fact pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And the more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turning the windshield over, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do you do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions, the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final
Would
question.
you close down the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the
It
oil
By the way, I
industry?
would transition from the oil industry, yes. I
Oh,
would
that's a big
transition.
statement.
It is a big statement,
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop,
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
And here's the deal, but you
That's a
can't
big
do that.
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. You won't give federal subsidies to the gas, excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give it
right.
to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question.
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I
Ohio.
have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context, but the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he
final
gonna get
question
China
to
to do
go.
it?
No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We have
going
to
to get
move on
China
to
to
our
do it?
final question. We
No,
have to
I'm
move on
going to
to our
rejoin
final
Paris
question.
Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
All
That'll
right, this
cost you
is
$1
about
trillion.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Ms.
We have to make a country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, etc. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, number one in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country. Decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, thank you to Belmont University for hosting us tonight. And most importantly,
I want to thank you both for a very good.
Election Day is November 3rd. Don't forget to vote. Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you.
All right, folks. That right there is the summation, the best, the brightest out of 300 and some 30, 50 million Americans that we can put out. After all the people we've gone through that have the courage, the wisdom, and the interest to serve this country, those are our best. Give me a break. All right, guys, watch out for the next cast. I told you that I would come in today at 4 p.m. I knew it would be a while. That's why I made it earlier. And we talked about so many things that are consequential. And also, you learned a lot more about this effort that's so close to my heart. We could do better and treat people better. It's not about fake progress. Truth and love is about real progress. Truth and love is not always about what you would think it is. Don't mock it. Truth can be serious. You see how I am. Love can be serious. It's not always like you have to be, oh yeah, super nice, and you can't get down with business. Love is a strong force. Give it, love it, know it, be it. All right, we'll see you next time. And watch out for the coming notices for future live casts.